Hello guys, welcome to my channel. As you can see in the picture today, we will start the story of what if Naruto helped Anko to remove her curse mark part 2. Let's begin. Yugao opened the door to see Hate standing there. Hi, he said, and before he could say anything else Yugao jumped on him and kissed him on the lips. Hate responded by wrapping his arms around her and returning the kiss. While kissing they came inside the room and after a minute they broke the kiss. Hate, I am really happy to see you, but what are you doing here? Yugao asked cheerfully still in Hate's arms. Hate smiled and said, well, do I need any reason to meet my girlfriend, and I was looking for you for 2 hours. Then I saw Hikage-sama exiting the hospital so I asked him and I am here, Hate said happily. Well, I am more than happy to have company of my boyfriend. I was really alone here because Anko is sleeping and I was just sitting alone, Yugao told Hate. They broke the embrace, and then Hate looked at Anko. What happened to her? I heard some unpleasant rumors about Anko and Orochimaru, and those rumors are really going to make it hard for her, Hate said sitting on the chair. Yugao sat on his lap and asked, what do you mean? Yugao asked confusedly. Hate sighed and started to tell her, well, when I returned from the mission, Kitetsu and Izumo told me that Anko has been found. And when I made my way to Hokage building 2 heard some people saying obscene and nasty comments like snake whore and snake knocker, Hate told Yugao. Yugao's face became red from anger. Those bastards, Anko was right, this village has rotten to the core, Yugao said gritting her teeth. Well, I agree with you somewhat, but there are nice people too, Hate said reasoning with Yugao. Really? Then tell me one person who treated Naruto as a child, as a human being except Anko, and that girl Kasumi, Yugao asked getting angry at Hate now. Will Yugao cut his sentence. No one, not even Hokage checked on Naruto. I know he is a busy man, but couldn't he have sent someone else to check on him? No, and I don't think any other villages in Jinchuriki's life would have been so worse like Naruto. I mean, I know their life is worse, but isn't it Kage's duty to protect and provide training to Jinchuriki? How will he defend the village when he doesn't even gets to eat and the proper training, and why would he even protect a village like this, where he can't even get the food for once? Yugao finished her rant with panting. Hate heard his girlfriend with wide eyes, but he understood her reasoning, but isn't it a Jinchuriki's duty to protect the village? Well, Yugao, I can understand what you are saying, but it's his duty to protect the village and be loyal to it and serve it, Hate said to Yugao. Yugao scoffed and said, tell me one thing, Hate, do you know how old Naruto is? Around 10, I guess, Hate said. 10 years, isn't it a very long time? Yugao said. Yeah, but where are you getting it? Hate asked. Every day of 10 years, when you get beaten to your death, even scared of seeing to any human, living on the road, be it warm night of summer or chilly nights of winter and hungry, with mental torturing. And Yugao stopped, her breathing a little fast, then tell me where will your loyalties lie if you put yourself in Naruto's place, Yugao said grimly. Hate just looked at Yugao, his face blank. He hung his head down. It was true, anyone in Naruto's situation would have gone crazy. And in his whole life, Hate never saw anyone in as much anguish as Naruto. And it was possible for someone like him to go against village. But why Hokage didn't help him? And why is Yugao telling me this? He hugged Yugao tightly to his body and asked Yugao, why are you telling me all of this? Yugao looked towards the window and asked, can I trust you with this? You can trust me with anything, Hate answered. Yugao rested her chin on his shoulder and said, if in future Naruto goes rebellious against Konoha, and if I have to choose a side, then I will choose Anko's side, and when that happens, I don't want my lover to choose the opposition side. Not because I want him to, but because of his own wish. So by telling this I am trying to make you see who is on the fault here, Yugao said lowly. Hate got a thoughtful look upon his face. So Yugao has already chosen the side. Well, if I see. The one who is on the fault here is Konoha. And if Konoha's people can't respect the second most important person in the village, then we can't expect them to respect us, who day and night put our lives on the line, just so they can sleep peacefully and without worry. Well, I guess, I already know whose side I am going to choose, Hate thought. He put a hand on the back of Yugao's head and said, you know what, I am not going to let some village shit separate us. So you can guess my answer. Now it was Yugao's turn to tighten the hug, pressing her body more to him. Yugao thought to give Hate some reward, so she kissed his neck and in return Hate nibbled on her ear, which earned him a moan from her. Yugao started to slightly grind her hips to his, which made him groan from the feeling of his pants tighten a little. Suddenly they remembered where they were. Well, I think we will have to wait to continue this, Yugao said panting. Hate nuzzled her neck and said huskily, I don't mind continuing it here. What, are you, stupid? Anko is here and there's a risk of someone catching us here, Yugao said, trying to not react the wet ministrations on her neck. Hate sighed. Okay, he said. Yugao stood up from his lap and sat on another chair. Then after some time they fell asleep. Jiraiya and Hiruzen were sitting in Hokage office. So Jiraiya, is there anything you want to share about Anko's curse seal matter? Hiruzen asked Jiraiya. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. What, are you suspicious of me hiding something? Jiraiya said to Hiruzen. It's not like I am suspicious of you, it's just I don't want any risk to village, Hiruzen said. There's nothing you need to worry about, Jiraiya said confidently. After that they sat in silence for a minute, then Hiruzen asked, so how is your spying coming along? Well, there's this organization called Akatsuki. Its leader calls himself a god, and this group seems interested in tailed beasts, Jiraiya said. Hiruzen got a serious look on his face. Interested in tailed beasts, he muttered. Yeah, I don't know the details, but the situation will get worse if they are planning something nasty with tailed beasts, Jiraiya said. But are they powerful enough to face a tailed beast, Hiruzen asked. Powerful, they are all SS-class criminals, so I don't think it would be that hard to face a tailed beast with all of them, Jiraiya said. Hiruzen's eyes widened from hearing that. SS-class criminals, no one in Konoha SS-class level ninja except some who are powerful than S-class, but far low than SS-class. Jiraiya, that group is dangerous, and if they attack. We need to do something about it, don't you think, Hiruzen said. Well, yeah, that group is dangerous, but we need to make a strategy. But they are low for now, so for time being Konoha is safe, and we have time to plan it, Jiraiya said. But we still need to be careful, Hiruzen said. Silence fell again for a minute, then Hiruzen said again, any information on Tsunade? Jiraiya sighed and shook his head in denial. Every time when it feels that she is near, she would become far away. Either my spies provide me wrong info, or she doesn't want to be finding out, Jiraiya said. Hiruzen sighed. Sasuke Uchiha is getting out of hand, and council has decided that to bring him back on right track her mother is needed to awake soon, Hiruzen said. Sasuke Uchiha. All Uchihas were like that with the exception of Makoto Uchiha. He rubbed his hand on his face. Okay, I will try hard to find her, he said. Then a perverted grin came to his face, and it's been a long time since I have seen those large knockers, Jiraiya said, drooling. You know, if she comes to know that you were thinking about her like that, then only God will be able to save you, Hiruzen said. Ehebit, that would be worth it, Jiraiya said lecherously. Anyway, what about Naruto, don't you want to see him, Hiruzen said. Jiraiya's face got a blank look with a slight sad expression on mentioning of Naruto's name. He put his hand on his face and elbow on the table. It's been 10 years Minato died, whenever I see Naruto, I just can't stop myself from remembering that disaster which destroyed everything, Jiraiya said sadly. You can't turn away your responsibilities, and more so you can't turn away your responsibilities towards Minato. Didn't he make you Naruto's godfather? What would have he been thinking, Hiruzen said. But I am protecting him from outsiders. And he didn't even know me. I am not sure how to go to him now, and he is doing well without me. He became silent for some moments, then said, anyway, I will meet him next time. Do you know the incident about Naruto with God, Hiruzen asked. What are you saying, Jiraiya said. Hiruzen then told everything to Jiraiya. To say the least, Jiraiya just couldn't believe it. Naruto challenged God. Is he idiot? Was he gone crazy? Well, what's done is done. That stupid, Jiraiya thought with a not so pleased look on his face. Well, I think I will meet him soon. A grin appeared on his face. He can't face a god alone, Jiraiya said. Jiraiya, I know what you are thinking, but what are you going to teach him which will help him and challenge, Hiruzen asked. I will teach him. Jiraiya became silent. What should he teach him, which could help him with the challenge? He searched in his mind, any jutsu which could help him but found none. He didn't have anything to teach Naruto which could him. Then something came to his mind. Sensei, I think training with Kyuubi chakra and controlling Kyuubi completely may help, Jiraiya suggested. Kyuubi. Are you sure, Hiruzen said in a thinking pose. Well, I am not sure, but it may help. I will need to search on this matter. Only then I will be able to help Naruto, Jiraiya said. After several seconds Hiruzen said, okay, but be careful with matters involving Kyuubi. Jiraiya nodded. Okay, then I will meet you later, Jiraiya said while getting up and went towards the window and jumped out of it. Hiruzen sighed. I hope you find the answer, because I don't want Naruto to do anything reckless which in result could harm Konoha. And I want you to be with him so he stays loyal to Konoha. But if Naruto succeeds in escaping Shinigami's clutches, then it will be a great feat and Naruto will be the first to achieve it. And Naruto will be a strong shinobi of Konoha, which will help in making Konoha stronger among all the elemental nations, Hiruzen thought, and turned to the stack of papers. Naruto opened his eyes and sat up on his bed. He looked at the clock. It shows 7:30. He still had time to ready for academy. Naruto got up and started his daily morning routine. Naruto was happy today. He got 2 friends, Choji and Shikamaru. And Iruka has also changed his attitude towards him. Iruka also started to give his attention to Naruto too with other students. Now Naruto has a little knowledge about chakra. But it was same as before in other sensei's classes. But on the whole he felt his life starting to look up again. But he made a promise to himself that all the people who are involved in making his life a hell will pay directly or indirectly. Naruto left his apartment 5 minutes early and made his way to academy. When he was halfway he saw a pink head and a blonde head going to the same direction as him. But he noticed that they were moving a little faster than normal. Naruto thought that it was because they wanted to reach the academy faster and to snatch the sitting space beside Sasuke, and after a minute Naruto lost sight of them. Then Naruto saw Shikamaru. He ran to him. "Hey Shikamaru," Naruto called him. Shikamaru turned to Naruto and smiled. "Hey, going to academy," he said. "Yeah, but you know first two, history and social studies classes are just boring and I am thinking to bunk them," Naruto said, smirking idiotically. "Oh, then what are you going to do in that period?" Shikamaru asked. Now Naruto thought that it would be quite fun to make it from 1 to 2 person and he knew what Shikamaru liked the most, so he just did that. "Well, I was thinking to go to Hokage monuments and have a clear view of clouds. They look much pleasant to eyes from there," Naruto said, smirking inside. He saw a puzzled look on Shikamaru's face. And only from the look on his face Naruto understood he won the game, just a little push. "And you know you get a pretty amazing view of the village and rising sun from there. So you may like it more than clouds." Naruto pushed Shikamaru to his trap. Shikamaru then looked at Naruto and said, "Well Naruto, it sounds fun, I think it won't harm to bunk for once." Well, Naruto won. He noticed that they reached near the academy and it would be better for them to go before someone spots them. "Okay then let's go to." Naruto got cut half sentence by a shout of Naruto. "Shit," Naruto thought and slowly turned to the voice and saw it was Iruka. "Damn, here goes my little expedition in a dump," Naruto thought. "Hi Iruka-sensei," Naruto addressed Iruka nervously. "You are getting late, hurry before the gate closes," Iruka said and started to walk with him. "Well Naruto, some other day I guess," Shikamaru said. Naruto slumps his head to his chest in gloom. Then a smile came to his face. "Well, it felt good to talk to you, Shikamaru," Naruto said, smiling. Shikamaru smiled in response and said, "You can talk to me anytime you want because what are friends for?" Naruto just smiled in return. He felt happy on making a friend. Then they entered the academy. Naruto entered his class and went to his seat, which was last row and middle seat. He always sat alone, but he always felt like someone watching him. And it wasn't from recently. It was from even before he met Anko, but he always ignored it because he never spotted anyone. No, it was not Hinata. It was someone else. He felt like someone was ruffling his hair, but after the day he met Kyuubi it felt more real, but he never saw anyone, just wind. Maybe it was just playing with his hair, and as Naruto sat down to his seat he felt it again, but this time to his cheeks, like someone was caressing them and holding them. And he could tell this because it felt strong this time than ever before. He noticed that even if it was a little cold the feeling was warm. Naruto started to feel nervous, but then he heard Iruka calling to him and it diverted his mind from the unknown feeling. "Hi Iruka-sensei," Naruto said. "Don't daydream in the class," Iruka yelled. Naruto just laughed sheepishly and rubbed the back of his head. Iruka then started the class. Anko groaned as he opened her eyes, but soon regretted it as the sunlight hit her eyes. She closed her eyes and after several seconds opened them again and sat up. Her body ached from pain, but still she ignored it. She took a look of room, it was empty. She rubbed her eyes and stretched her arms above her head. Yugao then entered the room and noticed that Anko was up. "You're awake," Yugao said. Anko turned her head towards Yugao and her eyes widened in realization. "Yugao, you are still here? Did you stay whole night here?" Anko asked, surprised from the fact that Yugao stayed with her whole night. "What, can't I stay with my friend when she needs me?" Yugao said with a smile and handed Anko her breakfast. Anko took the breakfast and placed it on her lap and stared at it blankly, then closed her eyes. She opened her eyes and said, "Thank you, Yugao. And what happened after I passed out?" Yugao sat at the edge of the bed and told Anko everything that happened. And with every word Anko got furious at Jiraiya for his lecherous acts towards her. Anko again thanked Yugao for staying with her and for not letting that bastard touch her. Then both of them finished their breakfasts. "Oh, I forgot, Hokage-sama said you can go to wherever you want," and Yugao sighed. "He asked me to keep an eye on you from shadows for at least 3 months," Yugao said. "Well, I think it's necessary for the safety of Konoha," Anko said sarcastically. "Well, I don't care about it. You tell me, do you know where Naruto lives?" Anko asked. "Yeah," Yugao replied, giving her direction of the apartment. Anko got off the bed and stretched again. "Well, do whatever you want, but don't come in my way," Anko said with a serious face. Yugao sighed and just nodded. "See you again," Anko said and left the room. As Anko was walking the halls of the hospital she heard some nurses and doctors whispering to each other, something about snake whore and snake knocker. Anko gritted her teeth in anger but controlled herself and left the hospital. Yugao heard them too, and I made right decision to choose Anko's side, she said to herself. When Anko was out and open she could feel the stares and hear the same whispers, same as hospital. Snake whore, snake knocker, whore of a traitor. Anko didn't stop moving, but as she reached market area some people tried to stop her, but a little killing intent was enough to make them unconscious. But the whole way the glares, stares and whispers didn't stop. And the time she reached Naruto's apartment, she fell down to her knees and hands. Her breathing heavy and she could feel the sting in her eyes. No, I won't give up. Naruto has put up with them for so long. Then I can't too. But they will pay for their every action now towards me, and Naruto, she thought, and stood up again and with her ninja skills picked the lock. She entered the apartment and took a look of its insides. The first thing she noticed was the dirtied walls, then clumsily fixed couch and furniture. She went directly to the bedroom and she found it same as living room. The bed sheets and the bed were all torn up and also clumsily fixed using bricks. She checked whole apartment, the walls, the floor, the ceiling, the doors, the windows, everything was all tattered. She made herself comfortable on the couch. She closed her eyes and reminisces. She knew Naruto's life was already hard and after the incident with her and Orochimaru, this is going to be much harder than before. She sighed and leaned forward and crossed her fingers and rested her elbows to her lower thighs and rested her chin on her fingers. Life is going to be hard, but I am not going to give up because if I did then both of our lives are over. These insolent villagers making our life shitty. I will make them pay. I am going to make Naruto the most powerful ninja in this village. She sighed again. Before that she will have to first confront Naruto. He will have been furious with her. She looked at the clock on the wall, it was 10 o'clock. I will give Naruto a surprise. I will change the looks of this apartment, this house before Naruto returns, she thought and got up to tidying up the apartment. Yugao, she shouted, she knew Yugao was there. Yugao came out of shadows and stooped up in front of Anko. You knew I was here, Yugao asked. Didn't you tell me you are going to go all spy on me, Anko deadpanned. Yugao laughed sheepishly. Yeah, it slipped from my mind. Anyways, what do you want, Yugao asked. I want to make this apartment anew, so let's go to buy some new furniture, Anko said with a happy glint in her eyes. Yugao smiled at Anko, you want to surprise him, huh? Yeah, now let's go, Anko said grabbing Yugao's arm and dragging her to the carpenter shop. They entered the shop ignoring all the obscene comments from villagers. Constant thoughts of seeing Naruto made it easy for her to ignore them. As the carpenter saw them he smiled and greeted them. Welcome to our shop. What the hell snake whore is doing in my shop, the owner said in a disgusting tone. As soon as the words flew out of his mouth he felt himself smashed to the nearby wall. He saw the snake woman grabbing his neck. What did you just say, you ing prick? If I ever again heard it from you I will cut that tongue of yours and hang it on your shop's entrance as an example, Anko said with rage. The owner coughed up blood from his mouth. Yugao came to her side and tried to calm her down. Anko, calm down, don't forget why we are here. Anko let him go with one more push to the wall. Yugao turned to the owner and said, if you don't want to stretch this incident more, then behave like a shopkeeper would to its customers. The owner nodded immediately and went to his place. Anko chose a large bed enough for 3 to 4 persons and some sheets and mattresses. Both girls made a clone and Yugao's clone took the mattresses and sheets and a clone of Anko lifted the bed above her head with her hands and exited the shop. Whoa Anko, you have monster strength, Yugao said, baffled from Anko's power presentation. Well, it's the result of my personal training besides that trader's training, Anko said smiling. Both clones went to the apartment and the originals went for further shopping. After 2 hours Anko and Yugao was in the apartment. They burned the old one and replaced them with new furniture. They replaced all the sheets, curtains and all old and useless appliances and replaced them with new ones. Now everything was new but walls. Anko summoned some large snakes and with their help she painted the walls in light blue and white colors. It was 12 o'clock. Anko sighed and wiped her forehead off the sweat, finishing the painting and dispelled her summoning jutsu. She had 3 more hours before Naruto's return. Academy ending hours was 3 p.m. Yugao already left an hour ago for reporting to Hokage. Anko asked her to not do her spying tonight and Yugao understood why. So she accepted it and left. She was only in her black top and blue skirt which were blue and white from the paint. Both of her cheeks, forehead, nose and chin were white and blue. Anko took a look of apartment. It was now looking like a brand new 5-star hotel suite with all white mixed with light blue color theme and like water waves on the walls. Same with the curtain, sheets. Anko nodded to herself. Good job Anko, Anko said patting herself on the back. I hope Naruto will like it, Anko said longingly. Then she saw herself in the mirror. Well, a long shower will do the job, Anko said to herself. Anko, finishing everything, decided to take a shower. She entered the bathroom and undressed and stood under the warm shower. She placed one hand on the wall and with other cleaned her body of off dirt and paint, switching from one to both hand in between the showering. After cleaning her body with soap and washing her hair with shampoo, half an hour later she turned the shower off and went to the bathtub and sat in its warm water. Anko sighed in contentment. Nothing in the world beats this after a workout. After half an hour she left the tub and dried her body using a towel. After drying her body she stood in front of the bathroom mirror and looked at her reflection. Her silky purple hair was coming down to her upper back and shoulder, hiding her curse mark. She was looking more beautiful than ever. She was standing to a height of 5'8" with a curvy body, with firm and soft knocker, slightly exceeding cups, slim waist and fitting wide hips with waist and long creamy legs. Just a look was enough for anyone to die from a nosebleed and blood loss. Her eyes went to her curse mark, like a dark spot in the moon, it was a dark spot to her creamy pale skin. She touched the mark and she could feel the dark vibes from it. I hope Naruto won't see me as villagers. If he too rejects, the words died in her throat. She shook her head in denial. No, my Naruto isn't like that. He won't die again. She couldn't even think of Naruto rejecting her. No, this curse seal is making my thoughts mess up, she thought. But what if Naruto rejects me, then there would be nothing in this world for me to live for, she thought, but after a second again shook her head. No, if he rejects me, I will again do everything to make things right, and that would be the goal of my life, and I will live for that goal, Anko thought. A smile formed on her lips. She wrapped a towel around her naked body and came out of the bathroom. She decided to stay in the towel because she thought no one is going to come to Naruto's apartment, but she didn't forget to wear a panty. Her stomach growled in hunger. She went in the kitchen to make herself food. After half an hour she was sitting on the couch and thinking. But she lost in her thought so much that she fell asleep. It was lunchtime in the academy, 12 o'clock. The theory class on Genjutsu was just finished. Naruto never got anything what the teacher said, and whenever he asked they didn't answer him. Naruto got off from his seat and went to Shikamaru to ask him about Genjutsu. Hey, Shikamaru, did you understand what sensei taught us today in Genjutsu? I didn't quite understand it, Naruto said. Well, Naruto, Genjutsu is a very hard subject and I don't like shoving my head in difficult things that much, so I didn't pay any attention to what sensei taught today, Shikamaru said and continued his conversation to Choji. Naruto felt down but didn't show it. It's alright, no problem. Even I don't like it that much, Naruto said. But Shikamaru just answered with a wave of his hand. Naruto then felt someone behind him and he turned around. It was Sasuke and Sakura and Ino. What do you want, Sasuke? Naruto said, a little irked from Sasuke and his two diehard fangirls. Sakura hits Naruto on the head. Naruto baka, talk to Sasuke-kun with respect that he deserves, Sakura said with disgust in her voice. Man, why she was talking to him, he didn't ask for it. Naruto rubbed his head in pain and glared at Sakura, but he didn't say anything. Naruto then asked again, what all of you want from me? What, are you in a hurry or something? Sasuke said. Naruto's eye twitched in annoyance. What do you want? He asked a little loudly once again. Sasuke grabbed Naruto's collar and said, you lowly orphan, you are not even worthy to stand in front of me, and here I came myself to talk to you. I am an Uchiha, do you not know how powerful an Uchiha are? Nothing in front of me, so you better behave good, Sasuke said, showing his almighty attitude. Naruto didn't faze from Sasuke's words. He tilted his head to left and stared at Sasuke for some seconds, which made Sasuke angry. Sasuke then punched Naruto hard in his gut and let go of his collar, making Naruto fell down. Naruto coughed up saliva, but he recovered soon. Naruto then stood 3 steps away from Sasuke staring at him again. Why the hells are you staring at him, you stupid freak? Sakura said in a loud and angry voice. Yeah, why are you staring at Sasuke-kun, you Naruto baka, said Ino, getting irritated. Naruto closed his eyes. Obviously he is an orphan, so I think no one taught him to speak. Sasuke said, getting his cool again. What, Naruto, your mother didn't teach you to speak? Sorry, I forgot, you don't have a mother, Kiba said, adding his 2 cents in the insult. Your mother would have left you getting irritated from just your existence, Sakura said with sneer. Nah, he think your existence was illegitimate, so from shame she left you, said Kiba while grinning. Before he could say anything else, a sudden and a large amount of killing intent washed over the whole class. Everyone bent to their knees from sheer killing intent Naruto was radiating. Naruto stepped forward to Sasuke because he was closer to him. Naruto's face was just an inch away from Sasuke's. Well, Sasuke, I don't know how powerful Uchihas were, but you are just a weak, pathetic Uchiha who has a stick called revenge and ego, shoved up deep in his, and it's so deep that in pleasure you forget that you also have a mother. Did you ever visit to her? So before talking about others' mothers, you should think about your own mother who is still alive, otherwise who knows, you could be the next orphan in Konoha, Naruto said, grabbing Sasuke's jaw and pushing him backward, making him fall. Sasuke cried out in pain because his head hit the ground hard. Naruto then turned to Sakura, who was having trouble breathing under insane pressure of killing intent. He grabbed her jaw and tightened his hold a little, making Sakura wince in pain. He then leaned forward, his face inches away from her. He could feel her long heavy breaths on his face. You know, Sakura, your breath is really making me sick, but I will manage for now, he said sweetly, but with sweet venom. He let her jaw go and grabbed her chin in between his index finger and thumb, lifting her head to look in her eyes. Sakura's eyes were wide from fear, a horrible look on her face. His face came a little closer to her face and then said in sweet venomous voice, have you ever looked your face or body in the mirror? Look at your body, you have even more pathetic body than Ino. You are just a flat billboard. Sometimes I wonder that or you are even a girl. That's why Sasuke doesn't look at you. Your body has a forehead like a whiteboard and your face looks like you just got ed by some on him. Was it human or well. You are smart to understand what I mean. You should go and wash your face, but I don't think the look will go away ever because it's just how you born. I don't know why my parents left me, but I am sure that my mom wasn't like what you said and I have a feeling that she loved me not very much, but extremely, and I am sure your mother would have had a face of pleasure even when she gave birth to you. Did your dad rape your mother so much that she forgot to differ the situation of having sex and giving birth to a child? Don't think your dad would have been the only one, Naruto said and brought his mouth near to her ears and whispered her gang rape every day. Naruto finished and like Sasuke he pushed her backwards but she couldn't take it anymore and passed out. Pathetic knocker, said Naruto inwardly. He then turned to Ino whose situation was no differing from Sakura. He sat down on one knee bending it in front of Ino and said in same sickly sweet tone, Ino, first I thought that you will be worth making a friend but as time passed you showed that you are no different from that pathetic knocker Sakura. You have a talent to be a good ninja, but it got suppressed under your fandualism. Real, you mean what did you ever see in him, even after he looks at you like you are just pathetic knocker and a tool to him, just because he is an Uchiha? If that's the case, then I really pity you on your pathetic choices. It really makes me sick just looking at you now. You still have chance to take this ninja study seriously, he said in his same tone, but he didn't touch her, but she too passed out. Naruto then went to Kiba who was on all four. Naruto kicked him in the face and then grabbed his jaw and said, what did you said? I was illegitimately born. This time his face contorted in anger, but he calmed down little after several moments, but the killing intent was more intense now. Kiba was feeling hard to breath under such pressure. Well, I would say the same as I said to Sakura. I don't know about my parents, but I have this strong feeling which I have started to feel recently that my parents loved me more than themselves. And I am sure my father my mom must have loved deeply. But you, I have suspicions about you. You act like a dog, you eat like a dog, and most of your behavior is similar to a dog. Was your father really a human or well you are smart enough to guess what I mean and I have seen your mother many times with a dog. And you know once I was passing by your clan compound I heard some noises. I wondered who could make such noises. So today when you go home ask your mother about the history behind your birth, Naruto said kicking Kiba in the gut again, which stopped Kiba's breath for several seconds and then killing intent lessened. Sakura and Ino were unconscious and Kiba was on the verge of it, but still Kiba sported an anger look. Other students were sweating profusely. Sasuke was sitting on the ground, his head down. Naruto then decided to go out for a minute to have fresh air and refresh his mood. He walked to the door, but Sasuke was sitting in the way. Naruto stood for a moment, then struck his knee to Sasuke's jaw, sending him to the side and going out of the class. That bastardy will kill you someday, Sasuke thought, recovering. Naruto was sitting beside a tree in academy ground reminiscing on the events happened a little ago. After 15 minutes when he calmed down completely he decided to go back. As Naruto was entering the classroom he heard Shikamaru talking to Sasuke, so he stopped and decided to hear them. Then why do you even talk to that weak pathetic dope, Sasuke asked to Shikamaru. It's not as I go to him to talk. He is just a classmate, nothing else. He comes to me and I talk to him, that's all, Shikamaru said, and Naruto froze where he stood. And I only talk to him because sometimes I feel something from him whenever he sits alone. I just wanted to see what it was, but 15 minutes before he showed that he is different, Shikamaru said to Sasuke, who smirked and said, he may be dangerous, but he is not as strong as I am, and if he fights me ever I will kill him. Hey Shikamaru, what are you talking, isn't Naruto our friend, you shouldn't say things like that about him, Choji said, interrupting the argument. Choji, keep your fatty mouth shut and stay away from dope, Sasuke said with evil glint his eyes and authority. Choji just got shut up and sat down. Well, it's time for teacher to come, Shikamaru said and sat down to his seat. Sakura and Ino were conscious now with some water to their faces. They woke and now sitting on their respective seats. They have blank faces. Kiba was also sitting and it looked like he was thinking something. Naruto has a terrible look on his face, but it soon changed in an angry one. His mind was about to go in frenzy from anger when he remembered Kyuubi's words, not to get so much angry at the level that he would tap in Kyuubi's chakra. Naruto tried to calm down. He clenched his fist and loosed them, took deep breaths. He calmed down and closed his eyes. Friends, he don't have any, but now I don't want any. Everyone can go to hell, Naruto thought and made his way out of academy. When he was out he looked at the gates. This place is making me sick to my stomach. I am not coming here again. I quit, he thought, and went somewhere without thinking anything. After 10 minutes he found himself above Hokage Monument. He sat down on Fourth's head and looked at the village. It was a nice view. It was 1:30 p.m. now. After 15 minutes he thought to go to his apartment, but he was feeling at peace where he was sitting, so he decided to stay there a little longer. Suddenly the wind started to blow. And with the wind came the feeling he felt that morning. It blew his hair like some was ruffling them, and it felt like someone was running their hands through them. He felt his head a little heavy like someone put his hand on his head. He felt something, like wet and warm on his cheeks, and like someone was caressing his cheeks. He felt the same wet and warm feeling on his forehead, and suddenly his whole body felt warm. What is this feeling? It's making me dizzy. Why am I feeling like this and it's warm? It's been so long, why I can't understand this feeling. Who is it? It's like some invisible human, he thought. It was the best feeling he ever felt from anyone. It was a different feeling that he was unable to express in words. He has felt a strong feeling from Anko. But this feeling was different. He was feeling difficult to get his head around it. It felt heavenly. He felt at peace from the unknown warmth. He had already forgotten the earlier incident in the academy. He just lost in it, and his eyes started to close slowly, and before it closed completely, he saw a very faint, 99% invisible, but he was able to see the outline of a figure, and a faint color was it red. It was impossible for even an S-class shinobi to even see that outline, but Naruto was able to. Why? He didn't know himself. It was getting hard for Naruto to stay awake, but he wanted to see who it was. So he squinted his eyes to concentrate on that outline to get a clear view, but he only could make it to a little further. He deduced by the shape of the color that the red color was long hairs which were coming down, even below to that person's butt. And the figure was of a woman. He narrowed his eyes more, but this time he couldn't control his sleepiness, and his eyes closed completely, and he fell asleep. Anko jolted awake. She looked around frantically and found herself alone. She looked at the clock, it showed 3 p.m. Naruto is about to return from the academy, she thought, and started to feel nervous. She had no idea how she was going to confront him. She started to pace back and forth in the living room, and 10 minutes passed like that. Then she thought to make food for him. She went to kitchen and started to prepare food for him, and in half hour she finished making food. And then it came to her that Naruto still wasn't home. Now she started to worry. Why is he taking so much time? Is he in trouble? I will have to go and find him, Anko thought, and went to change in her red top and dark green ninja pants. She got out of apartment and locked it and summoned 4 blue-colored 5-feet-long snakes and ordered them to look after the apartment in her absence. Anko then started to search for Naruto again like all those years ago, but the situations was different this time. She didn't have to go anywhere, so she decided to look for him until she finds him, even if it takes days. Anko headed to the academy first and saw Iruka standing outside the class. She started to walk to him shouting his name, Iruka. Iruka heard Anko and looked towards her, but before he could say anything she asked, "Have you seen Naruto?" Iruka got a confusion look on his face. Naruto didn't he go to home, he didn't attend classes after lunch, and students told me that there was an incident with him and other students today. I tried to ask, but most of them were against Naruto, but I think it wasn't totally Naruto's fault, Iruka finished. What the hell happened, Iruka? You are beating around the bush, Anko said annoyingly. Don't know myself, but I think some students taunted Naruto and he lost his temper, and I'm not sure what he did, but 2 girls passed out and all others were on the verge on it, Iruka told Anko hesitatingly. Hearing it, a grin appeared on her face which sent shivers down Iruka's spine. Really? Naruto did that? My Naruto has really grown up. Now I have to reunite him as soon as possible, she said, and before Iruka could say anything she was already gone. Iruka sighed. Things are going to change now when Anko is here, he thought, and hung his head downward. But as he lifted his head he found Anko staring at him. He shuddered back in fright. What are you doing? Don't scare me like that, Iruka said, his heart beating fast from Anko's sudden appearance. Where is Naruto? Do you know? Anko asked with a slightly pleading look in her eyes which Iruka missed. I don't know, he said, shrugging, which made her shoulders slump down. Have you any idea where he might be? Anko asked. Iruka put his index finger to his chin and started to think. Then he said, I'm not sure, but he might be at Ichiraku's place, and also might go to Hokage Monument. I have seen him going there several times, Iruka told her. Anko again vanished in a swirl of leaves. Well, I think Ichiraku's place is the first to check and then Hokage Monument, Anko thought, and went to Ichiraku's. She reached to the shop and lifted the curtain and asked, Hey, old man, did Naruto come here? Gucci, shop owner, looked at her and a smile formed on his lips. Sorry, Anko, but today he hasn't come yet, he said. Anko felt sad but didn't show it. Okay, thanks, she said and vanished again to Hokage Monument. Anko appeared at the Hokage Monument. It was 4:30 p.m. in the evening. Anko looked around in hopes to see a certain blonde head. Anko looked frantically around her. Then she caught the sight of something orange. She stepped forward to where she located the orange color, and Anko's breath hitched when a blonde head came into her view. She stopped for a second, then started to move again towards the blonde head. Now only 20 feet of distance remained, but now she could see the person clearly. It was the person she was looking for almost an hour. Uzumaki Naruto. Anko started to sweat slightly. Her heart beat faster than ever. Her body numb from nervousness. She felt scared. Scared of what will happen when he will see her. Anko closed her eyes and tried to calm her nerves. For almost a minute she stayed like that, then hardening her resolve, she moved further closer to him. Anko reached closer to him and looked at him. And the sight made her forget everything. Her full attention was towards him. She forgot her surroundings, only one thing in her mind. Naruto. Naruto was sleeping peacefully, soundly. He seemed in a deep slumber. He was sleeping on his back, one arm under his head and other was covering his eyes. Anko noticed that he had grown up now. His hair was messy and dirty. She noticed that he was wearing a dirty orange jumpsuit which was torn up to different places. He was older now, maybe 10 years old, she guessed. His whisker marks were more refined than before. Anko sat down cross-legged near him and stared at his half-covering face lovingly. Just the sight of his face made her forget all her worries, she loved him that much. She lifted her hand and placed it on his chest, carefully to not wake him up. But just a second after, Naruto instinctively grabbed her hand and both of his hands on his chest, resulting in uncovering his face and now his head on the ground. Anko's breath stopped for a moment, then she calmed down. Now she was able to look at his face. He looks cute while sleeping, she thought. She caressed his cheek from her free hand, feeling his flesh and skin in her fingers, which she wanted to feel for so long. Anko slowly moved towards his head and with her free hand, she lifted his head and placed it on her lap. She ran her fingers through his hairs. It was impossible for her to stop the flood of emotions. A tear escaped from her eye, and then second, then one more, and then she started crying like never before. She tried to make as less noise as she could so that Naruto wouldn't wake up. So long Naruto, so long. I am sorry I left you alone in hands of these cruel people but I am back now and I won't leave you ever again, Anko thought while crying. Anko then noticed that the sun was going down and they should head back to their apartment. Anko slowly made her hand free from Naruto's hands. Then she slowly lifted Naruto bridal style. She put his hands around her neck and his head on her shoulder and headed to the apartment, rooftop to rooftop. In a matter of seconds she reached the apartment building and entered the apartment. She took off her ninja sandals and entered the bedroom and lay Naruto on the bed, but as she tried to lay him on the bed, his grip around her neck tightened and he buried his head in the crook of her neck. Anko lifted her head and tried to look at him, but due to his face in her neck, she was unable to do so. So she too lay down with him. She closed her eyes and sighed in contentment. This was what she yearned for 2 years. Naruto, in her arms. After a little while she also started to get sleepy, so she decided to wake Naruto up. It wasn't time for sleeping yet. He needed to clean his body and eat before sleeping. Naruto was laying half on Anko and half on the bed. But now Anko was able to reach his ear and whispered, "Hey Naruto, wake up, it's time to wake up." No response. Anko again tried but this time a little louder. Naruto stirred a little but then nothing. Anko then got an idea, she traced his cheek in a way that it felt to Naruto like a fly was sitting on his cheek and Naruto felt a tickling sensation on his cheek and to relive the sensation, he brought his hand to his cheek fast and slapped his cheek. Naruto groaned due to the stinging on his cheek which made Anko burst in laughter. Naruto stirred more but instead of going back to sleep, he woke up but didn't open his eyes. Naruto heard someone's laugh. Ugh, who the hell is laughing? It seems like I have gone insane. Huh, who would come to Hokage monuments and on top of that for me, Naruto thought, eyes still closed. Naruto turned over to his left side, other side of Anko. It feels soft and silky and fluffy, he thought, his face contorted in confusion. Hokage monument never felt like this before and who the hell is laughing, he thought. Anko's laughter was now reduced to chuckles. Naruto moved his right hand and traced it on the bed, trying to feel it better. Anko was watching it all. She knew Naruto was awake, so she brought her mouth near his ear and whispered, "You are on your bed in your apartment." Naruto's eyes flew open wide. This voice, he could never forget this voice. It was a little different, but he could not mistake in recognizing this voice. It was Anko's. He slowly turned towards the voice, and his eyes widened more if they could. There in front of him was sitting his Anko, in flesh and smiling. He sat up, but Anko noticed that his face turned in that of confusion instead of happiness. Anko felt sad, but asked Naruto, "What is it Naruto, aren't you happy seeing me?" Anko slumped her head down, "I know what I did is unforgivable, but..." "Is this a dream?" Naruto said, cutting Anko mid-sentence. Anko could only say. "Yeah, it's a dream, there's no way Ankichan would be here," Naruto said and flopped back down to the bed. Tears welled up in Anko's eyes from his belief in her not returning. Anko at her body and hovered over Naruto's. "It's not a dream, you are not dreaming, I am here for real," Anko said. Some drops of her tears fell down on Naruto's cheeks. She was staring in his bright blue eyes. The same blue eyes she wanted to see so long. Naruto touched his cheek and felt the wetness on his cheeks. Which were the tears of the woman hovering over him. It wasn't a dream. Anko, Naruto said, speechless. It's me, Anko croaked. Anko then grabbed his hand and put it on her cheek and said, see, it's not a dream. Naruto could feel the soft and creamy flesh under her fingers. He moved his fingers a little to confirm, then caressed her cheek, and as it was coming to his head that it's all real with every stroke of his fingers to her cheek, Naruto's eyes starting to well up. Tears started to float down his cheeks. He just brought both of his hands around her neck and made her fall down atop himself and hugged her tightly. Anko too in response hugged him close to her body tightly. They both buried their faces in each other's shoulders and cried their loneliness and pain out. Anko-chan, you are real. I waited for you so long. You don't know how much I missed you, Naruto said while crying. I too missed you extremely, Anko said in same condition as Naruto. After half an hour their cries reduced to sobs. Their clothes were all wet from their tears. They stayed like that for at least 5 minutes, wrapped in each other's arms. Anko then slowly broke the embrace and looked at Naruto. She put a finger under his chin and lifted his head. She cupped his cheeks and wiped his tears using her thumbs. She looked straight in his eyes, smiling. I waited for this moment for so long, Anko said, tears welling up again. Naruto was starting to get his bearing back. Anko was back now, but when, how, why did she leave and why didn't she tell him? The questions were swirling in his head. He removed Anko's hands from his cheeks reluctantly because he didn't want it to do so, but he needed to know the answers of the questions he had for a long time now, and he knew it hurt Anko too, but it was necessary, it's needed to confirm. Anko noticed the look in his eyes, and she understood that it's time to clear some things between them. She will tell him everything and then leave the ball in his court. She also needed to tell him everything in a proper way so he could understand. Naruto got off the bed and went to the kitchen and drank some water, then came back and stood near the bed. Naruto, Anko said. Anko-chan, Naruto called. Anko froze from the little coldness in his voice and hung her head down. Tears welled up in her eyes again. Is he going to reject her, she thought with a heavy heart. Her body started to tremble. Naruto felt like slapping himself for making Anko cry, but it's needed. Anko-chan, you can't imagine how happy I am on seeing you, but there are some things I need to know and confirm, Naruto said this time in a normal tone. Anko understood, it was fair and she knew he needed to know, and she would have told him even if he hadn't asked her, but it's alright, it's in his right to know. Anko nodded and said, you can ask whatever you want. Naruto sighed and started to ask. Why did you leave, he asked his first question. I went to a training trip with Orochimaru, Anko answered immediately. Why did you leave Konoha with him, couldn't he teach you in Konoha, Naruto asked his next question. Orochimaru is a Sannin, and he is one of the most powerful ninjas in Konoha. He has his labs all around the elemental nations. So with my training he also needed to take care of his experiments, Anko said. It was a lie partly though because his main purpose was to use Anko as a test subject. But Anko didn't tell him. And it was like a lucky golden and rare chance to get chosen by a Sannin as an apprentice. Anybody would kill just to be a Sannin's apprentice. So it was like this for me, Anko told him. Naruto closed his eyes and opened again and asked his next question, so you were so excited and eager to go with that Sannin that you forgot to tell me about it, or you didn't consider it important enough to tell me, Naruto said with an edge and a little anger in his voice. No, she yelled. It's true that I was excited that he made me his apprentice. But I didn't want to go. I leave reluctantly in the first place, only I know how painful it was for me to leave you like that, and there was no way I could leave without telling you, without seeing your face and without hugging you. Anko's painful voice got cut by Naruto's outburst. Then why didn't you tell me? Leaving me alone, I always thought you two hated me like other, that's why you left me alone, right? And why did you not even once contacted me? You could have wrote to me or something like that, anything, Naruto panted, then continued. I slept every night thinking that you will be back tomorrow, but no, nothing, not a word from you, then I thought that you too was like those bastards who beat me to unconsciousness every day, he finished but asked again, why Anko? Anko was now full of tears. It was like someone stabbed her through her heart. Naruto was thinking that she hated him and she is like the villagers who beat him every day to unconsciousness. She looked up to Naruto, her face was messed up with tears. Naruto couldn't look at her face and turned his head to side. Naruto, do you really think I would hate you too? I'm like those insolent villagers, Anko said while crying. No, I don't think so, I didn't want it to think so, but I was forced to think because of your sudden disappearance and the circumstances. I tried to deny it but in the end the feeling that you hate me won, Naruto said, still turning his head. Anko wiped her face, but the tears didn't stop, so she stopped to wipe it. Naruto, when Hokage promoted me to a Chunin, I wanted to celebrate it with you as I had said. I wanted to spend the day with you, but then suddenly Orochimaru said to go on to the training trip and I couldn't deny it because you know why. He gave me 1 hour to meet him at Konoha gates. And in that 1 hour I searched for you in whole Konoha as much as I could do, but I couldn't find you. And only I know how much desperate I was at that time to see you. I was feeling so helpless. She stopped then continued for 50 minutes I searched for you, but failed to locate you, and when I was about to leave I saw Genma, he was my classmate, I told him everything I wanted to tell you. I told him to tell you about the trip, I told him to tell you to take care of yourself when I was away, and I told him to tell you that I love you, but he betrayed me by not telling you anything, and he will have to pay for it, Anko told Naruto in a calm but broken voice which seemed angry at the mention of Genma. Naruto was listening with full concentration, and he felt much relieved and happy inside, but he didn't show it yet. There are still questions he had. Then after a minute of silence he spoke. Okay, I accept that answer, but why didn't you wrote to me, just once would have been enough, Naruto asked. Anko's tears had stopped. She took a long breath and said I wrote to you every week, sometimes twice a week. It was impossible for me not to write to you, but when I didn't get any reply I started to feel the same as you, that you hate me for leaving you alone in this hellhole, but I kept my positive thinking intact in hopes to see you again. But it looks like the letters I wrote to you didn't reach you. I will have to confront Hokage about it, Anko said. Naruto was rendered speechless. Anko did everything in her power to let him know about her, but her own friends and that Hokage didn't let reach any info to him. He heard Anko saying something. Naruto, I know what I did was not appropriate and I am very sorry from my heart and I know I have lost the right to ask anything, but please forgive me and I want us to go back as we were before. I will do anything for that, Anko pleaded, hanging her head down. Naruto sighed. After listening Anko's side he understood. It wasn't her fault. But one thing still remained and he asked that what's the surety you won't leave me again whenever you got a chance like that or something else, Naruto asked. This time Anko sighed. He doesn't trust her yet. It wasn't Anko's fault and it wasn't Naruto's fault either, but she needed to assure him that she won't leave him again, but how? I won't leave you again, trust me on that, Anko said desperately. Naruto remained silent. It's not like he didn't trust her, it's just wanted to make sure the nagging feeling in his heart just wasn't going away. Anko started to think of the ways to make him sure that she won't leave him again. And after a minute of thinking she got the idea, it was a bit embarrassing, but it was the only way now. Her cheeks dusted pink. Naruto, do you remember when you asked me to marry you to make sure I won't leave you, Anko asked. Naruto nodded, blushing. Well, if it will make you trust me again then too we'll marry you anytime you want, Anko said, her face pinkish from what she was saying. For God's sake, he was 10 years old and she had just passed 16 years of her age. But she didn't care right now. She will marry him if it will make him trust her that she won't leave him again no matter what happens. She just wanted them to go back to those old days. Naruto stood there, wide eyes, his body froze from her answer. Now it was hard for him to control himself. But he controlled himself and asked for confirmation. What? Anko sighed again and said I will marry you anytime you want and I will do anything you want, Anko said this time swiftly. She still wasn't looking at Naruto. Naruto just became speechless again. Onkachan, he could only mutter. And if you want to punish me, I am ready for that too. Just come back to me, Anko said and bowed her head down, touching her forehead to the bed. Naruto couldn't take it anymore. He got on the bed and lifted Anko by grabbing her shoulder and hugged her tightly, burying his face in the crook of her neck, and some tears escaped his eyes. No, you don't need to do anything. You came back to me, that's enough for me. Naruto was hushed off by Anko. SSSHH, don't say anything. I am here now and I won't leave you again. And now I am here, I won't let anything happen to you and harm you. It's time to pay all people's back. But let's not think about other things right now. Let's think about ourselves, Anko comforted Naruto. Anko needed comfort too, but she ignored her comfort because Anko was immensely happy. Her hold on Naruto tightened. Naruto just nodded in response. After 5 minutes they broke the hug and looked at each other and smiled. Anko brought her face closer to his and kissed his forehead and leaning to his head, touched her forehead to his. Their eyes closed. Well, you know what, Naruto, Anko said. What is it, Naruto asked. You are stinking. You need to take a shower and change in clean cloths, Anko said. Naruto felt embarrassed. Anko then separated their heads and let him go and said, you go and take a shower and I will go prepare dinner for us, Anko said and went to the kitchen. Naruto was still sitting on the bed smiling ear to ear. He was feeling so happy that he couldn't describe it in words. Anko was with him now. He got off the bed and went to bathroom. It was almost 8 p.m. and it was totally dark outside, only moonlight was illuminating the streets. Anko was in the kitchen. She was happy that Naruto forgave her. Her face was shining from happiness. Then the smile disappeared and a frown appeared on her face. She didn't tell him about the curse mark. Well, he doesn't need to know about it. It will only make him unnecessarily worry and he is still younger. I will tell him when the right time comes, she thought, and then continued to make dinner. Naruto was sitting in the bathtub thinking about recent event. He remembered Kyuubi's word, someone who loves you is going to return. Kyuubi was right, Ankichan is back, Naruto thought, smiling, and after half an hour he got out of the tub. He wrapped a towel around his waist, but now he has a problem, he didn't have any more clean cloths. He wore his boxer shorts and draped the towel on his shoulders. He got out of the bathroom and saw Anko serving the dinner. He didn't feel any kind of embarrassment in front of Anko because long before he was used to stay in boxers in front of Anko, so he didn't need to feel any kind of embarrassment this time too. He went near her and crossing his arms on his chest stood there. Anko noticed him and raised an eyebrow confusedly. Naruto also looked at her. "But why are you standing there like that? Go and wear something," Anko said. Naruto looked aside and said, "I don't have anything clean to wear," Naruto told her. "Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you, I bought some clothes for you. Come with me," Anko said and went to bedroom. Naruto followed behind her. Anko took out a blue sweatpants and a white half-sleeved shirt. "Here you go," Anko said, handing clothes over to Naruto. "When did you buy them?" Naruto asked, surprised, while wearing the sweatpants. I did many things and bought many things," Anko said, and she then pouted and said, "I thought you would like them, but you didn't even notice them," Anko said in a mock hurt. Naruto then noticed it, everything was changed. He looked around him and his eyes widened in surprise, the walls, curtains, bed, everything was new and it was looking like a hotel suite. Naruto then ran out of the room to the living room and looked the new look of the apartment. He was so much surprised that he didn't notice two arms wrapped around him from behind. "Binkaken, this," he said, stretching his hand outwardly. "Ho," when Naruto asked. "Well, I came at 10 am in the morning and when I saw its condition, I couldn't accept it, my little Naruto. So I decided to change it all. Yugao was with me at that time and we went shopping and bought everything," Anko said while rubbing her nose in his hair, inhaling his scent. "So do you like it?" Anko asked. "Like it? No," Naruto said, making Anko stop whatever she was doing with his hair and a sad expression on her face. Naruto felt Anko stiffen and noticed her stop playing with his hair. So not wanting to make Anko sad, he added, "I mean, it's amazing, I don't like it. I loved it. I never thought I will live in this kind of place," Naruto said, making Anko start breathing again, which she didn't know she was holding. "You scared me there for a second," Anko said, ruffling his hair. She then heard Naruto's stomach growled and she chuckled. "Okay, the dinner is calling us. Let's eat," Anko said. They both then started eating. "Naruto, don't go in front of any girl or women while wearing boxers. It's different with me because I live with you and I am used to it and it's also bad manners, understood?" Anko said. Naruto chuckled at Anko's antics and said, "Ankichan, I know that very well. I only came out like that because it was only you. If someone was here with you then instead of me coming out I would have called you in the bathroom," Naruto said. Anko chuckled, "Don't call me to bathroom when someone is here with me, idiot. Go to the bathroom with preparation beforehand, understood, but you can call me to the bathroom when we are alone," Anko said, getting a little pink from Naruto's statement and adding his own teasing which made Naruto a little red. Okay, I understood, but I wonder what's the problem in coming out from bathroom and boxer when someone else is here," Naruto said. "Didn't I tell you it's bad manners and I don't want you to grow up in a bad-mannered person," Anko said, hoping he would understand. She didn't want to admit that she would feel jealous if someone ogles him. "Okay, I understood," Naruto said. "And if you want we can take baths together," Anko said while smirking teasingly. "Shut up and eat," Naruto said. After 5 minutes they finished eating food and after washing the dishes they were sitting in the living room on the couch. Anko was sitting and Naruto was lying, his head in her lap and her hands in his hairs. It was bliss for Naruto. He yearned for this lap for so long. He felt like in heaven. This place was a heaven for him. And more importantly, he was at peace after 2 years of pain. "I won't let anyone separate us again even if I have to do anything. And I won't let anyone take this place," he said, burying his head in her lap. Anko chuckled at his little possessiveness and said, "Me too. I won't let anyone separate us and I won't leave you no matter what," Anko said. She then brought her lips near his ear and said, "And don't worry, this place is only yours and will always be yours," Anko said, making Naruto blush. Anko then left her place for a second to turn off all the lights. She left one light turned on which was just above the couch on which they were sitting, only illuminating the couch and 1-foot area surrounding it. She again sat at her previous place and continued to do what she was doing before. "Okay, so, you are in academy, tell me about it, how it is coming along, and how much did you learn?" Anko said, wanting to know more about the events which happened with Naruto in 2 years span. "One thing first, tell me about your challenge to God," Anko said, making Naruto stiffen in her lap. Anko noticed it and said, "Okay, if you don't want to tell me then it's okay. I can understand, you still don't trust me to tell about the biggest incident of your life, Anko said with a sad expression, and her voice changed from cheerful to sad. Naruto noticed it and immediately sat down and hugged her and said, "No, Anko-chan, you are the only one I trust in this world. I just remembered a sad memory related to it, that's all." Anko nodded and smiled, "And don't say it again that I don't trust you," Naruto said, and Anko said okay in response. Naruto then for an hour told Anko everything. He told her about Kasumi, her murder and the challenge. Anko hugged him tightly and said, "I am sorry, Naruto. You suffered so much because of me," Anko said, her eyes got misty again. Naruto then broke the hug and said while wiping her unshed tears, "It's partly your fault, but I have forgiven you already. And you don't need to worry about that. Now you are here with me and I am happy," Naruto said, making Anko smile. She again lay Naruto's down and his head on her lap. "So what about your academy life?" Anko asked. Naruto sighed and told her everything. "It's the worst a student can ever get in an academy. No one likes me there. Everyone hates me. Irika-sensei apologized to me yesterday for how he treated me, but besides him there is no one. Teachers don't tell me anything. They dismiss me out of class as a punishment for the acts I didn't even commit. When I ask them any questions they just ignore it. So you can say I don't know anything," Naruto told her in a low voice, but loud enough for Anko to hear. "I am sorry, I disappointed you," Naruto said and closed his eyes in shame. "No, Naruto, you don't need to apologize for anything. It's not your fault and you didn't disappoint me. But tell me what about your friends?" Anko said, making him sigh in relief, but as she mentioned friends, he stiffened. "What is it, Naruto, you don't have any friends?" Anko asked, noticing his stiffening. "No, no friends, I tried my best but failed. When I was admitted to academy, I wanted to be friends with everyone, but everyone scorned me. There's a girl Haruno Sakura I wanted to be friends with, but there's a boy Sasuke Uchiha, and she is one of the diehard fangirl of him. So you know what she said when I asked her to be my friend?" Naruto asked Anko between his academy tale of friends. "What did she say?" Anko asked, hoping it not something bad. "She said she won't ever be friends with a filthy boy like me, and if she accepts my friendship out of pity, his Sasuke-kun would get angry at her," Naruto said. "Then she isn't worthy to be your friend," Anko said, scowling. "I asked her 2 more times after that, but after 3rd time I realized that she is a pathetic knocker, nothing else. After that I just feel disgusting every time she comes in my sight," Naruto said with disgust. "Naruto, don't use such bad words," Anko chided him. "Sorry, I can't help it whenever I talk about some people's," Naruto said. "I can understand your feelings, don't worry, just don't make it a habit, okay?" Anko said to him. "Okay," Naruto said smiling. "Good boy," Anko said, ruffling his hair. "Okay, so I never asked again her. And there's a girlie no Yamanaka. I asked her too, but she too refused, but at least she didn't refuse my friendship for some pathetic reason," Naruto said. "Oh, then what was the reason?" Anko asked. Said I am not good enough to be her friend," Naruto sighed. Anko just shook her head in disappointment in new generation Kinoichis. "Well, I didn't ask her after that and being a friend with Sasuke Uchiha no chance. And there's a boy Kiba I want to beat after Sasuke. He just taunts me on being a clanless and motherless orphan. And whenever he says something about my mother, I just can't help it, and today I snapped at them," Naruto told her while nuzzling her thighs. "Yeah, Iruka told me about that, and I am proud of you that you didn't back off when someone said those things about your mother," Anko said, beaming with pride. Naruto too felt happy at Anko's praise. "So any other?" Anko asked. "Friends, after another incident today I think I don't want any friend in my life," Naruto said. "What happened?" Anko asked, caressing his cheeks. "There's a boy Shikamaru Nara. He said we are friends yesterday. But today after the incident with all of them I went out for fresh air and when I returned I heard Shikamaru and Sasuke talk about me," Naruto said, then told her what happened. His face became full of sadness. Anko then kissed him on the cheek which made him smile, and Anko too smiled. "Anyone else?" Anko asked, trying to know as much as she can. "Well, I don't know about 2 boys, Chaoji and Shino, but there's a girl Hinata Hyuga, which is just total weirdo. Whenever I look at her she just faints and you know she always stalks me and for God knows how long she is stalking me and I am not sure why. She helps villagers to find me and beat me, but then why she cry, and if she doesn't help them then instead of crying can't she call for help?" Naruto told her. "We will see about that girl later," Anko said. "Don't worry, everything will be fine," Anko said, comforting Naruto. "Tell me, Naruto, your challenge, how are you going to do it?" Anko said. Now Naruto was nervous. Should he tell her about Kyuubi, but after a little conflict in his head he decided to tell her. "Anko-chan, before I tell you about it, tell me one thing. Do you trust me as much as I trust you? I mean, do you believe in me?" Naruto asked. Anko then became serious and said, "I trust in you as much as you trust in me." Naruto then sat up facing her. Then he said, "To met Kyuubi." Anko froze and her eyes widened hearing him. What? I met Kyuubi, Anko stuttered nervously. Anko-chan, don't worry, Kyuubi is not evil like everyone say he is, Naruto said. What? Kyuubi destroyed whole village and you are saying he is not evil? He can harm you anytime, Anko said while getting restless. Anko-chan, calm down, when you will listen to me you too will see him differently, Naruto tried to persuade her. Anko became silent, then said okay, I will listen to you, but if I smell any harm in it, you will stop everything with Kyuubi, Anko said. Okay, Naruto said and started to tell her everything Kyuubi had told him for half an hour. He told her the same story exactly as Kyuubi had told him. Anko became silent. And after thinking 5 minutes she reached the same conclusion as Naruto. She sighed and said, so this is how it is. It all happened because of that Uchiha. And before God's challenge your goal is to find the Uchiha and make him pay for what he did. Yeah, and he will train me for the challenge with the goddess, Naruto said. And how is he going to train you, Anko asked. He hasn't told me anything yet. He said he needs to prepare himself first because he has gotten rusty and it will take him 20 days. And he told me that is the only way to escape the clutches of Shinigami, Naruto told her. Anko sighed, he is right, she has never heard of anyone escaping Shinigami and I don't want Naruto to die, she thought, so she said what was needed to okay I will allow it, Anko said, making a smile appear on Naruto's face. He jumped on her making her fall backwards and hugging her tightly and muttering thank you again and again. Huh, idiot, you don't need to thank me. I will do anything to make you happy, Anko said ruffling his hair. Me too, Anko-chan. I will do anything to make you happy. You know if you had said no to the training with Kyuubi, I would have accepted it, Naruto said, making Anko emotional again. Anko just hugged him tighter to her chest. Okay, but I am also going to train you and will make you the strongest shinobi in Konoha, Anko said, making Naruto get up from her body. Really? Yay, I am now going to get some real training, Naruto said while jumping on the couch. Okay, that's enough, don't break it by jumping on it, Anko said. As Anko said that, Naruto tripped and fell down upon Anko. His face buried in her knockers and his right hand was on her left knocker. Naruto felt something soft and large under his hand and tried to feel what it is, so he squeezed that soft thing a little between his fingers. He slowly lifted his head and found Anko staring directly in his eyes. She raised an eyebrow and said, do you know where your hand is? Naruto just shook his head in a no. And again squeezed that soft thing in his fingers, it's large and soft in my hands, Naruto said confusedly. He didn't try to look where his hand was. Maybe because it was quite a good feeling to squeeze what was under his palms. Anko's face dusted a hue of pink from Naruto's statement. She closed her eyes and said, your hand is on my knocker and I guess you know what does it mean and your hand is feeling my knocker for at least a minute, Anko said, making Naruto's eyes wide and he started to sweat. Naruto slowly turned his head toward his hand, then towards Anko, then his hand, then Anko. He gulped and slowly removed his hand from her knocker and slowly got off of Anko. He then sat down to the couch sweating nervously. He had heard stories about guys who tried to touch Anko. And now he was hoping it won't happen with him. Anko slowly sat up beside Naruto. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to your BB, Naruto said nervously stuttering. I know, she said, making Naruto sigh in relief, but I am still mad at you, she said, making Naruto nervous again. Anko noticed him and said, I am not mad at what your hand did, I am mad because if you would have fallen down to the floor, then you could have gotten hurt. Naruto's head turned to her and after several seconds he looked at the ground and said, I am sorry, I made you worry. Anko smiled and turned to him and bring him closer to her. And said, don't worry about making me worry, just be careful. And I am happy that I have someone to worry about, Anko said, which made Naruto smile. She then brought her face closer to his ear and asked in a husky voice laced with seductiveness, anyways, how did my knocker feel in your hand? Naruto's face became red. What he could only say. I mean, did you like my knocker? You groped and feel them for a minute, so you should have a fair idea about how my knocker feels, Anko said, smirking and in a teasing tone. Steam started to come out of Naruto's ears and nose with a little nosebleed. But Anko didn't stop her teasing attacks. Or do you need to touch them directly with your hands, Anko said. Naruto's whole body became a color of tomato and with a huge nosebleed he passed out in Anko's arms. Anko laughed loudly and heartily. Little Naruto couldn't take it. Looks like he also needed to be trained in some extra activities and extra knowledge, Anko said to herself. She lay Naruto down and gazed at the clock. It was 9 p.m. She then decided to prepare for bed and went to bathroom. She came out wearing a white bra and a see-through white shirt and white panties only. She saw Naruto awake and sitting with a light blush. She went to him and stood near him. Naruto looked at her and the light blush darkened. Anko-chan, what are you wearing? Naruto asked, stuttering. What, it's my sleeping attire, Anko said, faking like she didn't know what effect her attire was leaving on Naruto. Okay, Naruto said while looking in a different direction. Well, it's time to go to bed, she said, grabbing Naruto's arm and dragging him to the bedroom. Onkichi Naruto could only say her name, and he found himself on the bed and in Anko's arms and his face in her knockers. Anko hugged him to her knocker and sighed in contentment. This is what I wanted for 2 years every night when I went to sleep, Anko said, which made Naruto smile, and he too wrapped his arms around her. Naruto, from tomorrow onwards, I am going to train you every day until you pass out, but I will start from a light training, because I know you are not prepared for the heavy training. So be prepared to go through hell, Anko said, smirking wickedly. Naruto's smile vanished and a look of fear appeared on his face. He gulped nervously. Don't worry, you will be fine. You are the only one who can get through it. I have faith in you that you won't give up until you come out on top, Anko said, making Naruto beaming with self-confidence. Naruto lifted his head upwards to look at Anko too looked at him. Then Naruto said, I can overcome anything if Ankichan is with me, Naruto said, smiling. Anko too smiled hearing that and kissed his head. Okay, let's sleep now, Anko said, and Naruto nodded. Then they lost in deep slumber. 2 hours earlier, at Ino's house, it was Ino's birthday, and she and her parents had invited all their friends who were heads and heirs of the prestigious clans of Konoha. All the clan heads with their wives were present and they all were sitting around a table. On the table, all the various kinds of foods and drinks were present. And they were all have a wine glass in their hands. Only Inyazuka clan head was alone because she was a widow. They were discussing and gossiping around themselves. Their heirs were sitting in another room. It was a large room with a table in its center with lots of foods on it. Anada Hyuga, Niji Hyuga, Hanabi Hyuga, Kiba Inyazuka, Hana Inyazuka, Rock Lee, Tenten Higurashi and Sakura Haruno with Ino, Shikamaru and Choji. Everyone was conversing with each other, but the birthday girl Ino was looking a little sullen. Choji noticed her, but he thought it as a woman problem and let it go. Shikamaru noticed too, but it was troublesome for him so he too let it go. Hana noticed her and being the eldest in them all, she decided to see what the problem was. Hey Ino, what's up? Why are you looking so gloomy, Hana asked Ino. Ino looked at her and sighed. She was thinking about what happened in the academy that day. So she smiled and said, nothing, Hana-san, I was just thinking about what happened today in the academy. I don't know what should I do, I am confused, Ino said with a depressing voice. They both noticed that Tenten was also joining their conversation. What's up, what are you two talking about secretly, Tenten said, raising her eyebrows. Nothing, just telling Hana-san about today's incident in academy, Ino said. Well, I would also like to hear Hana-san's view on the matter, Tenten said. Would you tell me what the matter is already, Hana said, getting impatient. Ino then told her about the incident. And I am thinking about what Naruto said to me, Ino finished. Hana got a thinking pose for several seconds. Then she looked at Ino. Well, I will take Kiba's class at home for his disgusting behavior towards a fellow comrade. But before that, you know Ino, in this male-dominating world, everyone thinks that women can't do anything. They are weak than the male shinobis. So to prove themselves they do more hard training than a male. But there are some Kunoichis like Sanada-sama who are powerful and can go toe-to-toe with any strong male shinobi. So what you were doing till now was just wasting time. I am not saying to stay away from fun of academy time, but with the fun don't forget why you are in the academy. Don't forget the main purpose of the academy. Have fun and making fun of the classmates is normal, but what you were doing with Naruto till now is totally wrong, and why? Because he is an orphan. Have you ever tried to put yourself in his place? I don't think you will even stay alive for so long. He wanted to be your friend, but you denied his friendship, why? Because of Sasuke. Come on, Sasuke is not going to take the decisions of your life, and you can't live your life as he wants. So stop being a fangirl and do what Naruto had said, take it seriously and be a good person, a nice person and a strong kunoichi, because Naruto is right about what he said to you, Hana lectured Ino, and looking at her face, she could tell that Ino has already started to take it seriously. Ino looked at Hana and said, you are right. I will apologize to Naruto, and now I will ask him to be my friend, and now I will focus on becoming a strong kunoichi of Konoha. Thank God finally you understand, Tenten said, sighing. What about you, you are also not his friend, Ino said, raising an eyebrow. Well, I will also offer him my friendship next time. It just didn't come to my mind. Why didn't I ask him till now and why didn't I help him? I don't know myself. Maybe, because of Sasuke. Though I am not his fangirl, but he had an impression on the class and he is strongest in our class. So maybe I was scared a little, Tenten said in shame. Okay, what happened, but now think about the future, Hana said while patting both on the back. Thank you, Hana-san, they both said in unison and started to converse with others. Hinata was looking at three of them for a long time. And she was wondering what they were talking about. But she couldn't even gather the courage to go and ask them. So she stayed where she was. Sakura also noticed, but she ignored them. Kiba noticed his sister and looked at them. His eyes met with Hana's, and the menacing look in Hana's eyes sent shivers of fear down his spine. He turned his head and continued his previous act. Anna got up and went outside to get ready for returning their home. After a while everyone left and they ended the party. Ino lay on her bed reminiscing on the things she had done and said to Naruto, and why because of Sasuke. What did she even know about Sasuke beside his good looks, and after all that persuasions of Sasuke, what did she get? His cold eyes and his egoistical rants. He never cared for anyone, not even his mother. He only cared for his revenge. She remembered Naruto's words that she and other are just tools for Sasuke. And what did she ever see in Sasuke? He was handsome, sure, but this time Naruto's face too came in her mind with Sasuke's. She never tried to look at Naruto closely. So she couldn't tell about Naruto. Then she remembered his words of encouragement that she should take it seriously and she still has talent to be a strong Kunoichi. She smiled at that thought. Then she sighed umpteenth time that evening. She was idiot till now. She felt disappointment at herself. Then a wave of determination ran through her and she decided to not only friends with Naruto but his best friend. Thinking along these lines she fell asleep. Then another house Tenten was thinking the same thing as Ino. But it didn't include Sasuke because it was her own idiocy that she never tried to be Naruto's friend. She just did what others had done. But they didn't know that Naruto didn't need any friend now. He was much far away from them. They would have to cover a long way to even be friends with him. In the middle of the night Naruto felt some movement and heard some groaning noises. He didn't open his eyes, but after some moments when the noises didn't stop he opened his eyes. After opening his eyes, first thing he noticed was the trembling of the person whose arms were wrapped around him. Naruto then looked at her face. She was sweating profusely. Her shirt was sticking to her body. Her eyes tightly shut. Her face contorted in pain and agony. Tears were flowing down her cheeks. Her breathing was fast and heavy and she was mumbling some incoherent words that Naruto didn't quite understand. He sat up and tried to wake Anko up. Ankichan, Naruto said while shaking her shoulder. But she didn't wake up. Naruto was now on the verge of panicking. Anko's body started to heat up. And a fever took over her. Naruto then tried to wake Anko up restlessly and desperately. His voice was getting crack up with every passing second. Anko, but he got no response. Anko, Naruto said a little louder. Anko, Naruto said louder now but still no effect on Anko. Tears were now welling up in his eyes from watching Anko's painful condition. Naruto then noticed something glowing on her neck. He looked at her neck and his eyes widened. 3 different colored commas-like symbols glowing and they seemed vibrating. Suddenly the air got heavy in the room and a vile feeling spread in the room. Tears were now flowing on Naruto's face. He couldn't take it anymore and closing his eyes yelled Anko while shaking her hardly on the shoulder. Anko woke up with a sudden jolt and a force which sent Naruto flying off the bed. Naruto stood up quickly and looked at Anko. Anko was sitting taking long breaths, sweat dripping from her face and body profusely. She lifted her head and looked at Naruto. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You are asking me that I am okay or not. I must ask you that you are okay or not," Naruto said a little angry at her lax attitude. "I'm fine, don't worry," Anko said smiling and wiping the sweat off her face. "No, you are not fine," Naruto said a little edge in his voice. Anko then first tried to calm down before saying anything. "I am fine now," Anko said and got off the bed. "Now go to sleep." "I am going to wash my face," Anko said, and before Naruto could say anything went out of the room. Naruto then sat on the bed. He was sure something was up with Anko. Those glowing symbols, those have something to do with her nightmare. But these symbols were not there when she left for her training. That means she got that mark in her training period. But why would she get that mark and from whom? Only she could tell it, but why didn't she tell me about it? Didn't she trust me or she didn't want to make me worry? Idiot Anko, I would be more worried not knowing about it, Naruto thought. He sighed. I was just rambling my pain and was getting angry at her, but I didn't even think about her. What kind of person I am. But anyway, I won't let it go. I will ask her and she will have to tell me even if I have to be a little hard on her, he whispered to himself. 5 minutes later Anko returned to the room with a smile. She looked at Naruto and smiled, but Naruto's face didn't show any emotion. She came in front of Naruto and sat down. "What is it? Why are you not sleeping? Is there any problem and what's with this serious face?" "It doesn't suit you," Anko said and lifted her hand to touch his cheek, but Naruto caught her wrist in midway and said, "What was happening to you?" Naruto asked seriously. Anko sighed. "It's nothing. I was just having a nightmare," Anko said, trying to evade the topic. "Okay, then let me rephrase my question. What happened on your training trip?" Anko's eyes widened hearing that. "Did your sensei do something to you?" Naruto finished. "Nothing happened and Orochimaru didn't do anything," Anko said again, hoping that would stop him asking any further questions. But now she was getting nervous. Naruto sighed. "It looks like you don't trust me enough to tell your secrets." "Okay, Anko cut Naruto mid-sentence. "No, I trust you more than anyone in this world." Then tell me what happened, Naruto asked sternly, and after several seconds he said, I will kill anyone who have hurt you, Naruto said in a voice which sent shivers down to Anko's spine. Anko sighed then said, Naruto, you are younger and you are not strong enough. I don't want anything happen to you. So I will tell you myself when the time comes. Naruto sighed, I will have to do it in hard way, he thought. If you trust me then you will tell me right now, and if you are not going to tell me then from now on I will consider that you don't trust me and I won't ever sleep on this bed with you. I am going to the living room to sleep on the couch, Naruto said, getting up and going outside, but before going out of the door, he turned to her and said, I have seen that mark on your neck. I will find out even if you don't tell me, Naruto said and left the room. He lay on the couch. Anko just couldn't believe that Naruto find out all things he just said. He wasn't that smart before, how did he get that smart? She was sure that she will have to tell him Athurwaseno, I won't let that happen, you will sleep with me on this bed, Naruto, she thought, and went to living room. It was dark. Only a little bulb was illuminating the room in a dim light. Naruto felt someone creeping under him and in a matter of seconds he found himself lying atop Anko. He looked at her and said, what are you doing? Anko just grinned ear to ear and buried his head in her knockers forcefully. You will sleep with me, she said. I will only sleep with you when you will Anko cut him off mid-sentence. Yeah, I will tell you, alright, Anko said. Naruto then stopped struggling and let her bury his face in her knockers and play with his hair. Anko closed his eyes and took deep breaths. She will have to tell him now, there was no escaping from it. She was about to tell him her greatest secret. The mark you saw on my neck is a curse seal given to me by Orochimaru. Tu was never a student to him. I was only a test subject for his experiments from the start, Anko said in a cracking voice. Naruto couldn't believe his ears. That ing bastard. I never thought he is such a person. A week ago he caught me off guard and put this damn curse seal on me. I felt unimaginable pain and fell unconscious. I was able to hear him saying that I was merely a test subject for him from the very beginning, and when I woke up I found myself in Konoha Hospital, Anko told him. Konoha Hospital, Naruto asked confusedly. She sighed again, I came here 2 days ago. Anbis brought me here, and when I regained consciousness I tried to come to you, but Hokage said he wants Jiraiya to have a look on the seal for any possible danger to Konoha and kept me there. Then Inoichi explored my mind and Jiraiya-sanin put a suppression seal on it so it could not affect me or create any danger for Konoha. The day morning when I woke up after the sealing previous night, then I came to this apartment with Yugao, and you already know what happened after that. And Orochimaru has betrayed Konoha, and being a student of his, I also have to suffer for his crimes, so people has started to call me different names like you. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to worry, Anko told him all in once. There was silence for a minute, then Naruto said, I am sorry, Ankichan. I didn't think about you and ranted about myself. I didn't even try to consider that there could be something bad going on with you. You were in such pain and please forgive me, he said, feeling guilty, then the look in his eyes changed to one of a fierce determination. Now the first person I am going to kill is Orochimaru, and don't worry, I will remove this curse seal and make you free from it, Naruto said. Anko closed his eyes to stop upcoming tears. She then giggled and said, you need to become strong first, but I will kill him, not you, and only Orochimaru can remove this seal, no one else. Okay, then I will defeat him for you, and trust me, Ankichan, about making you free of this curse, Naruto said. Anko hugged his tighter. Well, that is acceptable, but I will do most of the job, you will be a backup for me, understood, and I trust you, Anko said. Yeah, understood, and just you wait, Naruto said. Then silence again took over the living room for a minute, which was broken by Anko. We should go and sleep, Anko said. Naruto felt a little bold and then buried his face in her knockers and wrapped his arms around her and said in contentment, I am more comfortable in here like this than the bed. Anko chuckled and said, you little naughty boy, she said while ruffling his hair. Well, beside being a naughty, I am a good boy too, and if I am showing naughtiness, then it's only with you, so you can't say I am a naughty boy. And you was the one who took this position in the first place, Naruto said while smelling her scent. Anko chuckled, you are right, and only you are allowed to do what you are doing right now. If anyone else even tries to touch me I will gut him alive, Anko said. Poor man, Naruto said. They both laughed. Then no one said anything and they fell asleep after that. Naruto woke up and lifted his head. He noticed that it was already morning. He looked at the watch, it showed 8 AM, but he was feeling warm and content so he didn't get up. He looked at Anko who was under him and was sleeping like she never slept before, and she was drooling too. He moved his face upward and gave Anko a kiss on the cheek and put his head back on its previous place and fell asleep again. After 2 hours at 10 AM, Anko slowly opened her eyes. First thing she noticed was a weight on her body and a head on her knockers. She lifted her head slightly, and when she noticed the color of the hairs of the head which was lying on her knockers, she put her head back down. She noticed it was bright. Is it morning already, she thought and looked at the clock, and when she saw what time it was her eyes widened. Boy, Naruto, wake up, she said loudly, nudging his shoulder. Anko-chan, let me sleep a little longer, it's soft and comfy here, he said while rubbing his face in her knockers. Anko got a blush and a tingling sensation in her heart. Idiot doesn't even know what he is doing. Well, I am going to tease him so much, he will remember for his life, she thought. Yeah, you look quite comfy on my knockers, Anko said in a teasing tone. Yeah, Naruto said, stuttering. Does my knocker feel so good to you? Hi, Anko whispered in his ear and blew air in his ear. Naruto didn't say anything, he just slowly stood up, his face red, and sat down to side. Anko just started to laugh hard looking at his face. Then after Anko's calming down from her laughter, she wrapped an arm around her shoulder. It's 10 o'clock, you missed your academy today, Anko said ruffling his hair. Naruto pouted and said I don't want to go to that place anymore. Anko understood why he didn't want to go to academy. As Naruto had told her previous night about Sasuke and Shikamaru's conversation, so she could understand his feelings. But it was necessary to go to academy because if he doesn't go to the academy, they will suspend him from academy. Naruto, you will have to go to the academy. Because it's necessary to graduate and promoted as genin, and by the time you becomes a genin, you will have to go, otherwise they will dismiss your name and you will have to start over, Anko said, trying to persuade him to go to the academy. Naruto didn't say anything. He turned his head to the side. Anko sighed. She hugged him from behind, pressing her knocker to his back. Okay, let's do it like this, you can go to the academy for 2 days and other days I will train you. Okay, Anko suggested him. The idea seemed reasonable to Naruto. Okay, he said. Anko then stood up and said okay, I am going to freshen up and after that I will prepare breakfast and in meantime you can use the restroom, Anko said and went to the restroom. After half an hour later they were sitting on the couch after finishing up their breakfast. Anko started to prepare a list of the equipments and tools necessary for the training. Okay, let's go and buy these things, Anko said and grabbed Naruto's hand, and as she was about to step out she stopped and looked at Naruto. Naruto looked at her and asked what happened, why did you stop, Naruto asked. Haha, Anko laughed sheepishly. Naruto raised an eyebrow at her antics. Larry, don't have any money on me. I spent it all in renovation of the apartment. And until I start to go on missions again, I won't be able to earn money. But I will talk to Hokage about it. The problem is, what should we do right now, Anko said sheepishly, then frustrated that she couldn't go on missions for 3 months. Naruto sighed and ran a hand through his locks. I have money, but I am not sure it's enough or not, Naruto said. Hun, you have, really? Then show me, Anko said. Naruto started to walk in the direction of bathroom and with a confused look Anko followed him. Naruto entered the bathroom and went closer the wall to his right. There he lightly tapped his knuckles and the tile fell down to his hand, and behind the tile was a 1-foot square empty space to hide anything. Inside there was 4 stacks of money. Wow, Naruto, how do you have so much money? I mean, I understand you hide your money here, but how did you save so much, Anko said, surprised, and taking out one of the stack from the hiding place, and after calculating that half of the stack will be enough, she put the other half back. Well, I have been receiving money for my monthly expenses from Hokage and no one ever sold me anything, so that's how I saved so much, Naruto told her. Okay, let's go, Anko said, walking out of the bathroom. In the living room she stopped again. Naruto wondered why she stopped again. Anko summoned 4 5-foot-long snakes and ordered them to guard the apartment from any danger. Now Naruto understood why she stopped. Anko and Naruto then exited the apartment. When they were on the streets they could feel the glares and murmurs of everyone. But they were ignoring the curses and just walking, talking to each other. When they reached a little crowded area they heard a comment which made them stop. Someone said, "Damn demon and his snake whore." They both stopped. Their bangs were foreshadowing their eyes. Suddenly a massive amount of killing intent washed over the whole area surrounding them. And this was many times stronger than the killing intent Naruto emitted in the classroom, because it was Anko who was emitting it mixed with Naruto's, but Naruto seemed puny compared to Anko's. Everyone around them fell down to the ground and most of them lost consciousness. Anko calmed down first and put a hand on Naruto's head. Naruto closed his eyes and calmed down. Anko grabbed his hand and vanished from the area. Anko appeared on a nearby rooftop with Naruto. They both sighed. "Are you okay?" Anko asked. "I can ask the same to you," Naruto asked. Anko smiled and brought his body to his eye level and said, "I am fine." Naruto hugged her, his head coming just under her knocker. "I am fine too," Naruto said, breaking the hug. "Now we will shunshine to wherever we will go, okay?" Anko said. "Okay," Naruto replied. "But first we need to meet some of my friends," Anko said with a look which told Naruto that she is about to do something which she would regret later. "And why we need to meet some of your friends?" Naruto asked. Anko smiled and said, "I need to make them pay for what they did to you." Anko-chan, you don't need to do anything. They will pay when the time comes, don't worry, Naruto suggested. But Naruto, they are responsible for most of the things that happened in last 2 years, and Anko cut mid-sentence by Naruto. Anko-chan, calm down, I want to start our training as soon as possible. I don't want to waste our time and such things for a while. And if they create any more problems for us, then you can do whatever you want. I won't stop you, Naruto said, trying to persuade her. She felt surprised at Naruto. I will let it go for now to show Naruto, but as I get the chance I will visit them, she thought. Okay. Let's go then, Anko said. Okay, I can't wait to start my training, Naruto said cheerfully. Anko giggled at him. They both vanished again and appeared in front of a ninja equipments and gears selling shop. They entered the shop. A man welcomed them, bowing. He looked in his 30s with brown hair. Welcome to the best shinobi gears shop in K. He stopped mid-sentence and said, what the hell, what a do. This time he was cut off by Anko's leaking killing intent. I have come here to buy some gears and weapons for myself and little Naruto here, Anko said calmly. And I don't want to make any kind of mess in this shop with your brain matters splattering around, so let's shop peacefully, Anko said, and the shopkeeper gulped. Okay, he said. Anko then started to look at all the various ninja tools. There she looked at the chakra paperweights. She took it and read the manual. New arrivals, best for increase endurance, stamina. Just one paper, put it on the chest and transfer some chakra in it. When you transfer chakra in it, a human figure will appear on the paper with red dots on different parts of body like arms, legs, thighs, chest, etc. You just need to feed chakra to a particular red dot to increase the gravity amount on that part of the body. Every dot will show the amount of gravity in numbers like 1, 2 above the dot. If you want to increase the pressure, then feed more chakra, and as you increase the feeding chakra amount, you will see that the gravity pressure will increase gradually with the feeding chakra. Great, Anko thought, and took that and moved to kunai section. She took 5 sets of kunai with 6 kunai in each set. The kunai was 1 feet length with black color. She also took 5 set of shurikens. Anko then moved Tohin. She looked at Naruto. He was checking some swords. Anko went to him and said, are you interested in learning in Kenjutsu? Maya, these are looking cool, don't you think, Naruto said with stars in his eyes. Anko sighed and put her hand on Naruto's head and said, I don't know much of Kenjutsu, but I know someone else who can teach you. So if you are okay with it, then it's alright, Anko said. Yeah, no problem, Naruto said. Anko then took the sword from his hand and checked it. It was 3 feet long. Anko added the sword in her shopping items and said, okay, we need one more thing, then we will be ready to go, Anko said, and walking towards the chakra paper sections. She took 1 chakra affinity paper and some sealing scrolls and with Naruto went to the owner to pay for the tools. She paid the owner and with Naruto exited the shop. Anko-chan, where are we going to train, Naruto asked. Well, the Forest of Death would be the best place for training without anyone interfering, Anko told him, and then leaned down to his ear and whispered, and we can have fun after training and can do all sort of things. Naruto blushed at the implications of her words. Anko chuckled and Naruto just shook his head. In a matter of seconds they found themselves in the Forest of Death. Anko searched for a good place to start the training and after 15 minutes she found a clearing deep in the forest with a lake and different size of stones and rocks around it. This is the best place for our training, Anko said, and Naruto nodded. Okay, strip down to your boxers, Anko said, making Naruto back away 2 steps from her. What are you saying, Naruto said while nervously blushing. Anko smiled devilishly and said, well, are you going to strip or I will have to do it myself, and if I got to do it, I won't leave any shred of cloth on you. Naruto became red. 3 I'm doing it, Naruto stuttered and quickly started to strip. Anko looked at his naked body. He was so skinny. Her smile lessened. With the training she will need to maintain his diet. Anko took out the chakra weight paper and stick it on Naruto's chest and feed a low amount of chakra. Anko put the gravity amount at low. As Anko did the final part, Naruto fell down to the ground. Anko-chan, what is this, Naruto asked in a strained voice. I put a chakra weight on you. It will help in increasing your strength, stamina, endurance in training and fights. I will increase its amount every day. What you have right now is very low than normal, so I will increase it every day, Anko told him. Now try to get up, and after getting up you have to run to the stone 4 times, Anko said, lifting a boulder of 3 feet radius and throwing it to his side. Now get up and got to work, Anko said and went to a nearby tree and sat down. Anko summoned some snakes and sent them to guard the distance to the boulder she threw. The distance was around 800 meters, so the snake stood at 200-meter distance with other. After 20 minutes Naruto was able to get up. He was panting and sweating. Now start to run. Do this 10 times. You will have to do this only today because from tomorrow we will do something else, Anko shouted to him. What the hell, just earlier you said 4 times and now 10 times. Naruto tried to yell, but couldn't due to the pressure, and after 1 minute he started to move. He had to put his whole strength just to lift his leg. Then second step. Every second was feeling like hours and he was already sweating profusely. After half an hour Naruto completed the first round. As the time went on Naruto felt it a little bearable. For next 3 hours Naruto continued and after last round he fell down, breathing hard, eyes closed. Anko stood up and went to him. Naruto opened his eyes after 5 minutes and saw Anko towering over him. "Good job," Anko said. Anko's praise brought a smile to his face. "Now get up," Anko said, walking to the lake. "Okay, now the first thing you need to know is chakra control and cage bunshin techniques, because whenever you are in front of your enemy, don't attack first. And if your opponent also don't attack first, then use another way to attack him, but don't let your eyes and attention leave your opponent's body for even a single second. You can use cage bunshin, which I will teach you, but before that you need to practice chakra control, or if you have any jutsu that could help you attack your opponent without him noticing, then it's good too. But before starting any chakra-related moves you need to have at least 3 chakra controls exercise done. And they are water walking, tree walking and leaf balancing. First is water walking, let me show you." Anko said and started to walk on the water. Naruto was excited now seeing Anko walk on the water like solid ground. "Now what you have to do is exert appropriate amount of chakra from your feet. Now do it," Anko said. Naruto put right foot in the water and did as Anko said. And to his and Anko's astonishment he got it at first try. He walked towards Anko slowly. "Whoa, Naruto, how did you do this on first try?" Anko asked amazed. Well, I don't know. I just did what you asked me to do," Naruto said and laughed sheepishly, rubbing the back of his head. "Well, I am really surprised, you know. No one ever got it in their first try. Now I am eager to see how you do with tree climbing. Come, let's get to the next task," Anko said, grabbing Naruto and getting out of the water. "Now I will show you tree climbing," Anko said and climbed a tree. "Now try it," Anko ushered. Naruto went to the tree and put a feet on it and he closed his eyes and lifted second foot, and as the water walking Naruto got it in first try. He climbed to half of the tree, then fell down to his butt. "Well, I don't know how you are doing it in first try, but I am really proud of you, my little Naruto," Anko said, ruffling his hair. "But you still need to perfect tree climbing, and the next task is to balance the leaf," Anko said and picked up a leaf and put it on her palm, and after less than 1 second it lifted in the air and stopped at 1 foot of height from her palm, hovering in the air. Then it got burned. "It burned because my primary chakra nature is fire. Now you have to do this. The trick is same." "Understood," Anko said. Naruto nodded and started to do what Anko did moments ago. But this time as Naruto started the process the leaf fell down. "I guess you need to practice this more," Anko said. Naruto nodded. As Naruto was about to go at it again Anko said, "Before that let's check your chakra nature," Anko said and took out chakra paper. "Now feed you chakra in it." Naruto did as Anko said. The paper first split in half then become wet. Anko was surprised that Naruto has 2 affinities. "Naruto, you have 2 affinities, wind and water." "Okay, I will think about it later, but first, I am going to teach you 3 jutsu move and 1 jutsu," Anko said and back up a little from Naruto. "Now the first is cage bunshin," Anko said and performed the jutsu. "Cage bunshin no jutsu," she said and a clone appeared beside her. "Wow, 2 Ankos," Naruto said amazed. "What you have to do is draw a limited and appropriate amount of chakra and make an image in your mind and perform the jutsu," Anko said. Naruto then started to do the cage bunshin. But he created a white-colored and distorted clone lying on the ground. Anko sighed and said, "You will have to practice it." Naruto nodded. Then Anko taught him the Taijutsu moves. "Now first practice cage bunshin jutsu, then practice all other moves, because cage bunshin, or you can say shadow clones, are a great help in learning, because whatever they learn after dispelling it comes to original," Anko said. "Now start, I have some business to attend to, and when I return I will see how much did you learn and I will bring some books to read for you." Anko then looked around her and said, "I think it's around 3 o'clock, so you have 4 hours. I will return at 7, okay. But why are you going? I will be all alone and it will get boring," Naruto said, pouting. "Naruto, practice, I want all techniques to be done by today," Anko said sternly, and as she was about to go, she turned and said with a seductive smirk, "And if you succeed to get it done, then I will give you a reward," she said and winked. Naruto blushed and nodded. Anko giggled and left. "Well, let's get to work," Naruto said to himself, a thinking look on his face, then blood trickled down from his nose. He shook his head and got to work. Anko went to Hokage's office. She entered in the office and stood up in front of his working table. "What brought you here?" Anko Hiruzen said with a smile. "Hokage-sama, you have put me on probation for 3 months. And if I am right I can't go on missions, and if I can't go on missions how am I going to live without money?" Anko told the Hokage her problem. Aren't you living with Naruto? Hiruzen said. Yeah, but Naruto's allowance is not enough for both of us, Anko said. Hiruzen thought for a minute then said there's a vacancy in our torture and investigation department. I am giving you this letter. Go and see Hibiki, Hiruzen said and handed the letter to Anko. Thank you, Hikage-sama. Anko bowed, and as she was about to go when Hiruzen said again, Anko, I guess you have already started to train Naruto. Anko turned to Hokage. I started today, she said. I would like you to teach him about Konoha and its history and its well-being. Because there's a chance that he can be rebellious in future for how Konoha has treated him, Hiruzen said. If you are so afraid of him going rebellious, then why didn't you do anything for him from the start, Anko said. Hiruzen sighed and said I did what I could. And I am Hokage, I don't have much free time. Anko scoffed at that and said, oh come on Hikage-sama, don't give me lame-ass reasons. You could have sent someone else to check up on him. But no, he suffered all alone. I could have done something, but the council. Hiruzen was cut by Anko. Council. You are the head. They are just your advisors, or have you given the commands in their hands? If that's the case then there's no point in having this conversation. Allow me to leave, Anko said, and without waiting for his permission she left. I will have to do something about Naruto, Hiruzen muttered to himself. Hibiki, Anko mumbled under her breath. Anko entered the tea department building. She could hear the cries of pain and screams of the criminals being tortured. She went to Hibiki and handed him the letter. Hibiki read the letter and nodded. Okay, you can come from tomorrow, Hibiki said. Thank you, she said and left. Anko then went to library and took out some books on chakra, history, wind chakra related books and some basic sealing books and sealed them in a scroll. She came out of the library. I will have to talk to Yugao about teaching Naruto Kenjutsu, but first I have to see some of my friends loyal to Konoha, Anko said and went to Kurenai. Kurenai was in her apartment. She had just returned from a B-level mission. She had just come out of the bathroom and after dressing up she was planning to go out to have a drink with her friends. Then she heard a knock on her apartment door. Wondering who could the person is, she dressed up quickly and opened the door. As she opened the door, her eyes widened in shock and a little fear. Anko said, a creeping smile on her face but dangerous glint in her eyes. Kurenai just keeps staring at her wide-eyed and she started to sweat. How long are you going to stare at me like that? I mean, we have met after so long, won't you invite me inside? Anko said, still smiling that devilish smile of her. Kurenai came out of her stupor. Anko, when did you come back? Kurenai asked nervously. What, you don't look happy seeing me? Anko said. No, it's not like that. Tu was just going out and Yaoyu came and too I'm surprised is all, Kurenai said gulping. Their friends can wait. Let's go inside and chat for a bit. We have to catch up for lost time, Anko said, her smile replaced with a serious look. Okay, Kurenai said and ushered Anko inside. They both seated themselves. Tu will go and bring some tea, Kurenai said, started to stand up, but Anko stopped her. I am not here for your tea, I am here for answers, Anko said with a little loud voice. What answers? Kurenai said, now sweating profusely. Anko looked at her indifferently. Kurenai was clearly afraid, but it only made Anko satisfy. Why had you ignored Naruto? She asked. Kurenai's eyes widened. Naruto, he wanted to, but I was promoted to a jounin and I didn't have time so I couldn't look out for him, Kurenai said, getting her confidence back. Oh, you have time for going out with friends, but in 2 years you couldn't spare even a minute to see him, Anko said louder and angrier. Kurenai couldn't form an answer, but she tried. Well, you are a chunin. You don't know how hard it is being a jounin, Kurenai said. Oh, don't worry, I will be a jounin soon, very soon. But you are not the first jounin in this world. I have seen many jounins who do their jobs and also give time for their family, Anko said. It was getting harder for Anko to control herself from hitting Kurenai's lights out. Kurenai knew that, but she was a rookie jounin. So it was a hard challenge for her to compete with her fellow jounins, and it was the result of her hard work and training that she got to this level in Genjutsu. Come on, Anko, be reasonable, I am Konoha's Genjutsu mistress. What do you think how I get this title? I worked hard for it. I didn't have time for Naruto and that's the truth, Kurenai said, getting louder herself. Anko couldn't take it and grabbed Kurenai's top's neck. Why don't you say that you didn't want to have anything to do with him? Anko growled at her, only she knew how she was stopping herself from killing Kurenai. Kurenai sighed. Listen, Anko, calm down first. We can talk it out. We don't need to get violent, Kurenai said, glaring at Anko. You know what, only I know how I am controlling myself from throwing you to hell, Anko hissed from gritted teeth. Kurenai smirked at Anko's statement. Anko, you know you can't do anything to me because you are on probation, I heard. And if you lay a finger on me, on a jounin, your senior, it will only make sure to get you in the prison. So be my guest and do it, Kurenai said, and from the look on Anko's face she smirked in triumph. Anko's bangs foreshadowed her eyes. She lifted her right hand and put it on the back of Kurenai's head and brought her face near her own. Kurenai, you know what, I came here to scold you and make you realize your mistakes. But I think that was impossible to begin with. You're just an idiot. You claim to be a Jinjutsu mistress, but you don't know the difference between a bottle and the water in it. You have mixed both in your mind so much that you can't distinguish which is bottle and which is water. And that is impossible because a bottle contains water, they can never be mixed together. But oh well, it was the last chance for you, now I will do this in your way, Anko said, and could see clearly the conflict on Kurenai's face. Kurenai got a confused look on her face. What was she talking about? Glass and water can't mixed. Is she talking about Naruto? Glass waited. Naruto, her eyes widened in realization. What the hell was she doing? She couldn't believe on herself. The fact was clear, she just never tried to understand it. She just believed what other people said. Naruto was not the Kyuubi but container like glass. He was the glass, not water. Now she was realizing the mistake. And the look on Kurenai's face made Anko's smile turn to one of an insane smile. Now just wait for your punishment. Soon, very soon it will befall on you, you and some others. Now I know that it's useless to talk to any of you. I will just give you what you all deserve. Now, you will be the reason of your own downfall. Not only you, all my friends who are responsible for Naruto's pain. Anko said, making Kurenai tremble from fear and guilt. Anko threw Kurenai back to the couch, and as she reached at the exit she turned, and when I punish you, it will be in legal way. No one will do anything to stop me, she said, and exited from the apartment. She made a hand sign and dispelled the Jinjutsu on the apartment which she had put when she had come. She was skeptical that Hokage might have spying on her, so she casted a Jinjutsu, which she had learned from Snake Queen. Now Hokage only saw them talking friendly. The Jinjutsu was so strong that even Hokage and Kurenai, being the Jinjutsu mistress, couldn't feel it. As she exited the street of Kurenai's apartment she spotted a blue-haired girl, and from her eyes, she understood that she was a Hyuga. She went to the girl and put a hand on her shoulder, which in result made the girl squeak in surprise. "You're Hyuga, aren't you? What's your name?" Anko asked. "WW. Who are you?" girl said. Anko raised an eyebrow at the girl's awkward style of speaking. She remembered what Naruto had told her about a girl like that in her class. She smirked. "You're Hinata, right? Naruto was right about you," Anko said. And hearing Naruto's name, Hinata's face became all red. And Anko understood what the problem was. This girl likes my little Naruto, she thought, and the smirk turned into one of the devils. No, Naruto was hers alone. She won't allow anyone to have that right, and sharing no chance. She will have to stop this girl now, Anko thought. "You know Naruto-kun?" Hinata asked. "I don't only know him, I live with him." Her smirk widened, and we love each other every day. We sleep together and we can't sleep without each other's warmth. And you know what, recently we started to take bath together." Anko was pleased from the effect of the words on Hinata's face. She was total red and on the verge of passing out, but she was holding herself from passing out. Anko brought her face closer to Hinata's and said, "You understand what I mean?" Hinata just nodded her head in yes. "Good, because he is mine." Understood, and stop following him. "And why do you even follow him?" "You know Naruto had told me that you are following him for a very long time." "No, we?" Anko asked, glaring at Hinata. Hinata shrank back under her gaze. She tried to form words but couldn't. Anko then raised an eyebrow and asked again, "Tell me." Two followed him because two wanted to be like Naruto-kun," Hinata said, now a little composed and getting better. "What do you mean?" Anko asked, confused. "You see, I am a clumsy and very shy girl. I am not good at anything, be it studies or training. Not only my father but most of the Hyuga clan scorns me every day for this. He doesn't even train me. He always trains my little sister Hinabi." Hinata choked back a sob. Her eyes were wet and tears were just ready to stream out. Anko's face softened looking at Hinata. Now she was feeling sympathy for her. "I have seen Naruto-kun many times beaten by villagers, but he never give up. My life isn't hard as Naruto-kun's and still he never gave up. He stood back up again and again. And for that I admire him. When I look at him I feel that determination in me that I can also do it. I can also become strong like Naruto-kun, not only from body, but also from mind. If someone else would have been on Naruto-kun's place they would have died. And for that sheer willpower I admire him. I want to have that power of sheer determination." "And will?" Hinata said, looking upward at Anko. "I don't love him. I just admire him," Hinata said with a little smile. "This girl is so innocent, but she will be useful for us, but before that," Anko thought. She leaned down and hugged Hinata, which made Hinata shocked and wide-eyed. Hinata felt a motherly kind of warm feeling from Anko, and she too brought her arms upward and hugged Anko. The warm feeling she felt from Anko was just too much, and a feeling that a daughter felt from her mother, which had long lost inside Hinata, bubble up, and she couldn't hold her tears. Anko started to rub her back slowly to comfort her, to soothe her lonely mind. "Let it all out," Anko just said, and the dam of emotions broke and Hinata started to cry hard on Anko's shoulders. Anko knew it was needed and she was holding her emotions for a long time and that's why she was like that, clumsy, shy and weak, because she was unable to concentrate on the things around her and holding the emotions back affected her mind badly. Some people could control their emotions while maintaining their mental condition, but some not. And she was one of them who couldn't. After some time when Hinata calmed down, Anko broke the hug. Hinata wiped her tears from her shirt sleeve. Anko ushered Hinata's head to look at her. "How are you feeling now?" Anko asked. "Better, I am feeling like a huge weight is lifted from my heart. I am feeling light," Hinata said, smiling. "Good, Hinata, you are a very innocent girl and innocent persons can't survive in shinobi world. So you will have to be a strong, understood? Don't let anyone's remark fell you down. In this hateful shinobi world everyone wants power. But power is not everything. Power only makes a person egoistical and overconfident that is not good for anyone. They start to ignore the things which are also necessary for them, very important in their life. And this is what your father is doing. But don't give up, okay? You are a strong girl and you can do it. Show your father that you are not weak, show your clan that you are worthy of becoming a leader of your clan. And for that you have to train hard. If your father doesn't train you, then ask someone else. Search and you will find the suitable guide. And if you don't find, then don't stop until you find that person." And Anko gets cut by Hinata mid-sentence. You look like a kunoichi, can't you train me?" Hinata asked hopefully. Anko smiled. She couldn't teach her. It was impossible. "Hinata, I can't train you," Anko said, and Hinata's face got a sad expression. "Why?" she asked. "There are many things. First is you are from a clan. So it's a clan matter and no one is allowed to interfere with clan matters. And you don't know, but in this village there are many people and elders who are against me and Naruto. Just one mistake can destroy me and Naruto's life in Konoha. So I have to stay alert all time. And there are other people too who can separate me from Naruto and that I can't let happen at any cost," she said. Then she said in a low voice which Hinata couldn't hear, "Even if I have to burn down this village in the fire of hell. So that's why. And don't think that you are alone. You can make friends unlike Naruto and me." Anko told her why she couldn't train her. Hinata held a sad expression on her face, but after a minute her face lit up with determination. "I will find that person, Anko Mitarashi," Anko said. "Yeah, I won't stop till I find that person." "Thank you very much, Mitarashi-san," Hinata said. "Good girl," Anko said, and she was ready to go. "This girl can be useful for us in the future if we plan to leave Konoha," she thought. "Okay, I should go now. I am already late," she said, and as she was about to turn she stopped and glared at Hinata again. "Naruto is mine, don't forget, and if you see any girl that seems to have something for Naruto, then told them to not even come near him with those intentions. Otherwise I will make them run whole Konoha naked and leave my snakes behind them to bite on their butts," Anko gave a warning. "Oh, okay. I understood that Naruto-kun is yours. But why are you saying it again?" Hinata asked. "Just to make it sure and clear, and I will say it again if needed," she said and disappeared. Hinata stood there for several minutes smiling. "Thank you, Mitarashi-san. Now I will show everyone what I can do," she said to herself and went to his home. Anko went to a restaurant and bought some dangos and some ramen from Ichiraku's and made her way back to Naruto. It was already 7. She was late, so she started to run and she ran so fast that even Hokage wouldn't be able to see her. She didn't even need to shunshine, her speed was almost equal to shunshine. And in a matter of seconds Anko was standing in the area Naruto was training. She noticed that he was lying down on his back. He was sprawled on the ground and from his condition she could tell he trained hard and she couldn't wait to see the results. But he was asleep and after working so hard, she didn't want to awake him, but it was necessary. It was already dusk and they needed to go back to the apartment. Anko lifted Naruto in her arms and went to the apartment or their home. She lay Naruto on the couch. She noticed that they were stinking so much that for once she wanted towel, they needed to take bath right now. She tried to wake Naruto up. "Hey, Naruto, you are stinking, you need to take bath before sleeping and you also need to eat," Anko said, but got no response. Anko then tried several times but got no response, so she did one thing. She lifted him and went to bathroom and threw him in the bathtub that was filled with cold water. As Naruto fell down in the water he woke up and gasped in the coldness of the water. He balanced his body and looked around and saw that Anko was standing beside tub laughing hard. Naruto glared at her half-heartedly. Naruto then grabbed Anko's hand and pulled her with him in the cold water. Anko shrieked and gasped in the cold water. "How does it feel when you taste your own medicine?" Naruto said, smirking. "Why you?" Anko said and pounced on Naruto, which in turn made both of them go underwater. They came out of water after seconds. And then looked at each other, then started to laugh. After their laughter died down Anko hit him on the head lightly and sighs. "You idiot, it's your fault I did that," Anko said and stood up pinching his cheek. "And why it's my fault?" Naruto said as he too got up. Because I tried to wake you up many times, but you didn't wake up, Anko said while turning the knob of hot water tap. Anko then started to strip, which made Naruto flustered. What are you doing? Naruto asked, stuttering. What, can't you see I am undressing to take a bath? An idiot can tell. You too, strip down, Anko said, which made Naruto red. He looked at Anko, who was already to her bra and panties. Anko then got a teasing idea. Hey Naruto, can you help me with a hook please? Anko said in a cute voice, which made Naruto to look at her instead of the wall, and as he looked at her, his eyes widened. He never saw Anko like this. She was beautiful and she had a body of goddess. Now Naruto looked at her attentively and noticed her body features. Her hair, her face, her knockers, her stomach, and before he could move his eyes down, Anko called him, hey, on earth Naruto, or did you become so mesmerized from my body that you forgot we are in the bathroom and I am feeling cold? So hurry up and help me with the hook of my bra. Naruto shook his head internally, but externally his mouth was still agape. Anko moved to him and whispered in his ear, I didn't know my body will have that effect on you, now I am going to tease you more, Anko said, making her large knocker hover in front of his eyes. Then she stood straight. In the meantime she unhooked her bra herself, but before removing it from her knocker, she put her arm in front of her knockers and removed her bra. Naruto was frozen at his place. The blood pumping in his heart and veins, which made him forget the cold. Anko then went to the side and wrapped a towel around her. She then moved to Naruto and started to undress him. Naruto caught her hand too. Will do it myself, he said, making Anko giggle. Anko checked the water and approved its warmness. She then removed the towel and panties and entered the tub and sat down in the hot water. She looked at Naruto, who was in his boxers now. Anko smirked devilishly and said, why don't you remove your boxers too? Now on alert, Naruto decided to not remove his boxers. He entered the tub and sat down a foot away from Anko. After a second, Anko scooted closer to him and wrapped her arm around her shoulder and put her head to the side of his head and closed her eyes. Naruto tried to distract his mind, but his arm was touching her knocker and his thigh to her thigh. He again tried to distract his mind by asking Anko questions. Hey, Ankichan, where did you go while I was training? Anko lifted her head up, said, I went to Hokage and now I have a job in tea department. So we don't have to worry about money anymore. And I have brought some books for you to read, Anko said, excluding the Kurenai and Hinata part. Did you got down the moves in Cage Bunshin technique? Anko asked. Yeah, I perfected it all, Naruto said cheerfully with a smile. Good, I will make schedule for your training and from tomorrow I will spar with you and we will work on your primary affinity wind. You need to perfect it to the point you can create solid objects out of wind, Anko said, lifting Naruto and placing him between her legs and washing his back with a cloth. A smile graced on Naruto's face. I can't wait to get stronger, Dadabayo, he said, grinning. A teasing glint appeared in Anko's eyes. Anko hugged him from behind, pressing her large naked knockers against his back. Naruto could feel her two peaks probing in his back. The touch of her soft flesh and skin against his back and the two arms wrapped around his torso made something tighten in his boxers, which after some moments became a tent. Anko peeked over his shoulder and looked at the tent in Naruto's boxers. Anko smiled sultrily and blew in his ear, making him squeaked out. What are you doing, Ankichan? Naruto shrieked out. What, you get a hard-on just from my touch? Anko said in a seductive voice. Naruto pouted and looked away and said, it's not like that. Oh, and what is it then? I can see the tent in your boxers, Anko said to his neck, which sent ticking sensation to his body, which made his body to get hot and he started to feel a little dizzy. It's your reward for your hard work today, as I said I will give you, Anko said, kissing him on the cheek and tightening her hold on him. A smile graced on his lips, but a second later it vanished and a serious look came to his face. It's a reward. Will you give this reward to anyone who you teach and do hard work? Naruto said seriously. Anko smirked, knowing where his train of thought was going. Well, maybe, she said, smiling teasingly. Naruto stood up suddenly and started to get out of the tub, not caring if she saw his boner. What, did you get jealous? Anko asked with the same expression. Why would I be jealous? It's just remember something, that's all, Naruto said and got out of the tub and without saying anything exited the bathroom. Anko sighed and got up too and wrapping a towel around her body she exited the bathroom. She saw Naruto wearing a black shirt and trousers and sitting on the couch in living room. His chin was resting on his right hand palm and elbow resting on his right thigh. He wore a sulky expression on his face. He closed his eyes and fell back on the couch and trying to sleep. She looked upon the dinner on the table untouched. Naruto, come, let's eat, Anko said, but didn't get any response. She sighed. He is mad at her and she knew why. My possessive little Naruto, she thought with a giggle and went to him. Naruto was trying to get sleep but failed. Suddenly he felt warmness wrapped around his body. He opened his eyes and noticed that it was Anko who was hugging him tightly and trying to engulf his whole body with hers. Her legs entwined with his head buried in her knocker. What are you doing, Anko-chan? Naruto said, a little pink on the cheeks. Naruto, it's not fair. You got to see everything I have under my cloths, but I didn't got to see everything you have. She got cut off by Naruto. Anko-chan, I am not in the mood for your teasing, Naruto said seriously, which in turn made Anko serious. Are you mad at me? Anko asked. Why would I be mad at you? Naruto said, faking like he didn't care. I am sorry for making you feel insecure, Anko said sincerely. What? Naruto asked. I was just kidding with you in the tub. There's no way anyone will get that reward from me but you. But I am happy to know that you care about me that much, Anko said, rubbing her nose in his blonde hairs. Naruto turned his body to face her and, burying his face in her knockers, hugged her tightly. I was, Naruto said, his voice muffled from her knockers. Don't worry, I am not going to train anyone in the first place. You are the only one I will ever train, Anko said, smiling. Then a teasing glint appeared in her eyes. But would you let me teach your children? Anko said, then brought her mouth closer to his ear, or shall I say our children, Anko whispered. WHWHAT, shut up, he yelled in embarrassment. Anko giggled. Both then fell silent. Naruto then looked up in Anko's eyes. Anko felt a little unease from his stare. The fierce and possessive look in his eyes just made Anko a little turned on. I love you, Anko-chan, and you are mine, only mine, he said, and placed his head back on its previous place. Anko was stunned from his proclamation. She couldn't speak anything. She calmed down her nerves and said, shook his head, I know. I love you too. Then a teasing glint appeared in her eyes. She brought her lips close to his ears and whispered again, but you know, you can't do anything to this gorgeous body of mine until you are at least a genin, she said, smirking. Naruto's whole body got red and steam came out of his ears. You are incorrigible, Naruto said, trying to get free from her hold but failed. He then stopped struggling. What are you saying? Naruto said, then pouted. I didn't mean it like that, he said. I know what you mean, let's go and have dinner. I am hungry, she said, getting up with him and lifted him and seated him on the place beside the dinner table. His weight was nothing for her. Now eat all the healthy and nutritious food and only then you will get ramen as a dessert, she said sternly. Naruto then reluctantly ate all the food except ramen. And in regular interval he tried to get ramen bowl, but Anko stopped him every time. After finishing the dinner they sat on the couch in the living room. Anko was still in only a towel. Now show me what you have practiced today. First Kage Bunshin, Anko said, and Naruto complied as he stood up in front of Anko. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he yelled and made hand sign. 4 Naruto clone appeared in the room. Anko raised an eyebrow. Why 4? You only needed to make 1, she said, confused. I tried, but it's easier to make 4 than 1. But I am working on it, Naruto said and rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Anko nodded in understanding. Okay, she said. Now wall walking, Anko said, and Naruto obliged. Anko nodded in approval. Anko then give him a paper of leaf size. Naruto understood what he had to do. Naruto put the paper fragment on his palm and after a second it started to float in the air, then it got split in half. Anko couldn't believe it. In just one day Naruto learned the chakra control of Chunin level. Anko couldn't hold herself and went closer to Naruto and hugged him tightly, smothering his face in her soft knocker, which was half covered by towel wrapped around her. Naruto, you don't know how proud I am feeling. How happy I am. Your progress is just outstanding, Anko said, kissing his head. I am glad I made you happy, Naruto said in a muffled voice and wrapping his hands around her. But how did you do it? It's a Chunin level exercise, Anko asked. I don't know. I just tried to do it and I got it after 10th or 11th try, Naruto said. They stayed like that for some moments, then broke the hug. Okay. We should go to bed now, Anko said, and Naruto went to the bed. Anko went to drink some water. Anko returned under the sheets and cuddled with Naruto. Hey Naruto, Anko said. Yeah, Naruto replied. I met that girl Hinata, Anko said, looking at Naruto. Naruto also looked at her. So did you find out anything, he asked. Anko sighed. There was nothing. She was just fascinated from your will to never give up on anything. I just told her what was needed to do and I think it will reduce her clumsiness and current shy attitude and maybe she will get some self-confidence, Anko told him. What did you say to her, Naruto asked. Nothing, just some words of comfort, and she is a good girl. She's fed up from her clan's attitude towards her. So she can be useful for us in future if we plan to flee from Konoha, which is looking inevitable, Anko replied. Okay, I will see it next time she comes in front of me, but she will have to come to me if she wants to be friends with me, in which I am not interested, but well, at least we would be on good terms, Naruto said, which made Anko smile. Okay, I am sleepy. I am going to sleep, Naruto said. Alright, Anko said and hugged his head to her knockers. Naruto woke up at 5 o'clock. He opened his eyes and first thing he saw was something pink and pointing outwards. He rubbed his eyes for clear view, then looked again. His face became tomato. In front of him was Anko's nipples. He got up hurriedly, which resulted in awaking Anko. She too rubbed her eyes and looked at Naruto, who was steaming red, pointing a finger at her. Anko looked down and noticed that she was totally naked. Her towel was undone while she was sleeping. "What, you have already seen me like this? Why are you blushing so much?" Anko said, moving towards him on all fours. Naruto couldn't take it anymore and rushed out of the room and into the kitchen to drink some cold water. "If this goes on like this, I won't be able to control myself," he thought, and took gulps of water. "Alright, if she wants to play then I will play with her," Naruto thought, smirking, and went back to the bedroom. He saw Anko all dressed up. He sighed in disappointment. Anko noticed his disappointment and said, "Don't worry, when we will return, you can see the sight again." "I don't wear cloths at home," Anko said, making Naruto blush again. Then he realized they were going out. "Where are we going so early in the morning?" he asked, confused. "From tomorrow, we will wake at this time, and now you are going to run around Konoha for 1 hour and as many laps as you can. Then we will spar and then we will return and bath. After that you will practice control wind using wind chakra as I can control fire. I will show you at that time, but first let's go for jogging around the Konoha," Anko said, grabbing Naruto and vanishing and appearing at the edge of Konoha. She increased gravity pressure on him. "Let's start," she said, and they both started running. For 1 hour they jogged continuously. Naruto needed some rest between the jogging, but Anko didn't let him. Whenever he stopped, Anko kicked his butt forward. At 6 o'clock after finishing the jogging they were under a tree resting. "Naruto, today we ran at a steady pace, but from tomorrow we will run fast. I want to make you reach at my speed level," Anko said, and Naruto nodded, panting. "Okay, let's go to the Forest of Death, where we trained yesterday," Anko said and started running. Naruto followed her. They spared for 30 minutes into jutsu. Anko corrected his errors in the moves, but Naruto was catching it all faster than she imagined. "When our clones do something, the experience they gain comes to the original when we dispel them. So use your clones for most of the things except physical training. You can use them for chakra practice, jutsu, reading books and also sparring with them, etc. So after we reach home, make 10 clones for chakra control training. Make 10 clones for reading books, and if you want you can send 1 clone to the academy," Anko told him about shadow clones. Naruto was listening her with wide eyes. "Wow, it really is amazing, and I have a lot of chakra too to use," Naruto said, amazed. "First let's take a bath, we are sweating from all the running and sparring, and I am feeling a little hot," Anko said, wiping the sweat from her face. "You are feeling hot?" Naruto asked, smirking, thinking that it's his time for payback. "Not in that sense, idiot," Anko said. "Oh, I didn't know you know other meanings of hot other than what I said," Naruto said. Anko understood what he was trying to do and smirked inwardly. "And what were you thinking when I said I feel hot?" Anko whispered in his ear seductively. There he was. Anko laughed at his failed attempts. Naruto gave up. "Anko-chan, it's not fair," Naruto said, looking away and pouting. Anko just kissed his cheek and started striping. "What are you doing? Are we going to bath in that lake?" Naruto asked. "Yeah, it's amazing to bath in open. Now strip and jump in the water," Anko said, removing her bra. But anyone can come here," and he couldn't finish before Anko said, "and see me naked, all my little possessive Naruto," Anko said, hugging him from behind. She was only in her panties and from behind she started to unbutton his shirt. Anko could feel his stiff shoulder and reluctance. She sighed and said, "Don't worry, no one comes here. We are deep in the forest and if anyone comes then, I have summoned my snakes to guard this place. So if anyone comes I will know," Anko said, feeling his shoulders relaxing. She removed his shirt and Naruto removed his pants. "And I don't care if someone sees me, it's not like they can get what you can," Anko said and jumped in the lake. Naruto sighed. "You are impossible," Naruto said and jumped in the lake. Bathing in the cold water after training has its own different feeling. Naruto swam to Anko and wrapped his hands around her from behind. Anko was surprised at this display from him. He always tried to stay away from her when she was naked. Naruto buried his face in her back, rubbing his face in her back, inhaling her sweet smell, and said, "If anyone tries to peek on you or touch you, I will kill that person. Your beauty is only for my eyes and your body is only for my touch," Naruto said in a possessive tone which sent shivers down her spine. Anko turned towards him in his arms, bringing her eyes to his eye level, and stared in his eyes. It was the same look as Naruto just said, "I will kill anyone who peeks on you and touch you." And she could see the promise of the words. He seemed like a full-grown adult. She hugged him and said, "I am noticing that you are behaving like you are an adult and more mature. As if you are the adult here. I am happy hearing what you just said, but aside that I am also surprised at your accomplishments. You mastered the Chunin level chakra techniques in 1 day. It never happened before and it's impossible for anyone to learn so fast. Naruto, is something wrong with you? Please tell me if something bad is happening to you, if something happened to you too." Anko's rant cut off by Naruto. "Anko-chan," he said, patting her naked back lightly. "I don't know. But from the day you have returned I am feeling like I can understand things easily and I can see what's trick behind every technique. That's how I was able to master those techniques, but I don't feel anything bad. I mean I feel fine. I feel normal, nothing weird. And it could also be because you are with me now. But whatever, nothing is going to happen to me until you are with me, Naruto said, making Anko's eyes wet. You idiot, Anko said, wiping her eyes. Okay, let's go, she said. They got out of the lake after 30 minutes then vanished to their home. Appearing in the living room, Anko said, okay, I am going to make breakfast and then I will go to my job. In meantime I want you to read all those history, math, science, social studies and chakra control books. There's a book on wind chakra and a book on basic sealing jutsus. I don't think you will have any problem now that you have become so smart, Anko said and went to the kitchen. After having breakfast they sat on the couch. It was 8 a.m. I should go now, I have 4 of my snakes guarding this place, so don't worry about outsiders for intruding. And use shadow clones in an effective way, Anko said, standing up from the couch. Don't worry, Anko-chan, I will read all of them till you return, Naruto said with determination and nodding to her. Anko ruffled his hair and kissed his forehead. Okay, then I will return at don't know, maybe in the evening, Anko said, wondering why she didn't ask Hibiki for timings. Naruto nodded and said bye. Okay, let's do this, Naruto made hand sign and said Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 30 clones appeared in the living room. Okay, one of you each grab one book and start reading, Naruto said, and the clones complied. 20 clones remained. 10 of you go to the location we train and practice same thing with the stone as we did with Leaf. After floating the stone in the air, try to cut it using wind chakra, understood, and be careful, I don't want anyone to notice all of you, so you can practice it here, Naruto commanded the 10 clones. Now for remaining 10, you have to create a solid layer of wind around your hand so that if we are unarmed then we won't have any troubles, understood? And how will you do it? Gather wind on your palm and then try to wrap it around your hand, then start the wrapping upwards to the arms and shoulders and then whole body. I know it's very hard, but I also think that with my newfound ability to understand things easily and with the chakra control I have attained, it wouldn't be that hard, Naruto instructed them. They all hollered in yes boss. Now get to work, Naruto said, and everyone got to their assigned work. Now for me, I should practice the new Taijutsu moves Anko-chan taught me today, he muttered and went to the roof of the apartment and started practice. Uzumaki, Naruto, Iruka yelled while taking attendance. Me is absent today too. Does anyone know where Naruto is? Iruka asked. Everyone was silent. Then Sasuke said, I think that's it for him and it would be better if he doesn't return. Yeah, that baka Naruto, he is not worthy to be a ninja, Sakura yelled to the whole class. And you think you are worthy? Everyone was surprised hearing it because it was Ino who said it. Boy, Ino, what are you saying? Why are you favoring him? Sakura said. I am not favoring him. I am just saying the right thing, Ino retorted. You mean that I am not worthy to be a ninja? You are the one who should stop pursuing a ninja career, you inepic, Sakura said, seething. They butted head to each other. I am more suited to be a kunoichi than you, billboard bro, Ino said, gritting her teeth. I am the one suited for it, not you, and you just watch, I will be a strong kunoichi of Konoha and then Sasuke-kun will like me more, Sakura ranted loudly. Ino then stood straight, crossing her arms to her chest. A blank look sported on her face. But she said, you know what, you can go and Sasuke's brains out for all I care. I am not going after Sasuke anymore, she said, making everyone wide eyes and shocked. She quitted her pursuit of Sasuke's love. Sasuke's eyes were wide too. He was just flabbergasted. He couldn't understand what happened to Ino. Was it what Naruto said? Yeah, that could be the only reason. Sasuke stood up and said, Ino, what happened? Why you are acting like that? He said in his usual attitude. Ino looked at him. Well, Naruto opened my eyes. I was idiot to even go after a person like you who can't even go for once to check on his mother, Ino said with narrow eyes and with disgust. Sasuke went to Ino and slapped her. You knocker, did you forget who I am? I am the mighty. He got cut by Ino. You are nothing. You are pathetic, egoistical bastard who only cares about himself and his revenge. Naruto was right about you, I was an idiot to not be able to realize it. I must have been more careful with my choices, Ino said with slight wetness in her eyes from the slap. Everyone was looking at Ino with wide eyes. They couldn't believe their ears and eyes. She was saying all those things to Sasuke, whose affection to get, she was ready to die for. Sakura moved towards Ino. You inepic, traitorous knocker. You betrayed Sasuke-kun, Sakura said enraged and lifted his hand to slap Ino, but as her hand was about to touch Ino's cheek, she felt someone grabbing his hand. She turned her head to the person and her eyes widened, it was Chaoji. He also had an enraged look in his eyes. He had Sakura's hand aside and said, that's going overboard. Ino looked at Chaoji surprisingly. That clumsy and idiot Chaoji was standing for her. She smiled and said, thank you, Chaoji. Chaoji just smiled in response. Why didn't you say anything? Chaoji inquired. Ino sighed and looked at Sakura and Sasuke. I am going to be Konoha Kunoichi and I will try to be the best. I didn't say anything because they both are idiot and my fellow classmates. I am not sure if I should call Sakura a friend or not, but she was surely my friend. So for the sake of that friendship, I didn't say anything to Sakura, Ino said to Choji, whose respect for her increased tenfold. But what about Sasuke, Choji asked again. Ino then looked at Sasuke and scoffed and said, as for the sake of my friendship, I didn't say anything to Sakura, the same with Sasuke. I admired Sasuke. I realized it was never a love, just an infatuation. So because of that I didn't say anything to Sasuke. But it won't happen again. Choji smiled and said I feel proud to have a friend like you, Ino. Ino chuckled and shook his head. Sakura was stunned hearing Ino. Her only friend or rival in love said those things about her and Sasuke. She looked at Sasuke and saw an enraged look on his face. Sasuke gritted his teeth in anger. This knocker, I will kill her he thought and noticed that Sakura was looking at him. He scoffed and went to his seat. Everyone went to their seat. Iruka was seeing everything, but he didn't do anything because of Sasuke. He heaved a sigh of relief that the situation was calmed down. Now he didn't feel like teaching, so he said to class for self-study and went out of the class. Sasuke stood up and following him went out the class but somewhere else. Sakura followed Sasuke calling him to stop for her, but he didn't even look back. Sasuke went directly to his clan district and entered his clan house. He stopped at the gate, noticing that Sakura was still following him. He turned around and looked at her. Why are you following me he asked in a cold tone. He wanted to spend some time with you and see if you need any help, Sakura said nervously. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. He was really annoyed with this knocker. Who said you can spend time with me? I don't want to have anything to do with you Sasuke said getting irritated. But an evil glint appeared in his eyes. He smirked crazily yeah, but you can help me with something Sasuke said. Sakura's happiness could be seen through her eyes. How can I help you Sasuke-kun she asked happily. Be my punching bag Sasuke said making Sakura's smile vanish and eyes widened. Sasuke-kun she muttered lowly under her breath. But before she could say anything he entered the clan house and closed the gate behind him. And went inside the house and started to study whatever ninja techniques he could learn from his clan's library books. And he was learning new taijutsu and ninjutsu techniques every day. He knew his chakra natures fire and lightning. So he was practicing fire techniques of his clan. His Sharingan was still dormant. But without any instructor or guidance he was unable to move ahead in training. His taijutsu was good, but his speed and his stamina and his chakra control wasn't that good. He needed an instructor and he will have to find out that by himself. He started to think on possible instructor candidates suited for him. But no one came to his mind but his mother and his mother was in coma. He punched the wall in frustration. He then entered in his room and lies down on the bed and started to think how to find a suitable teacher. Sakura was still standing outside of his house hanging her head down. She was now wavering from her pursuit of Sasuke's love. Ino's words were ringing in her head again and again. Was Ino right about it not being a love? No I love Sasuke-kun and now Ino is out of the way, so it will be easy for me to make Sasuke-kun mine. I will make him mine no matter what. First I will have to find out what Sasuke likes and what not. Yeah she shouted to herself and went home with a new determination for winning Sasuke's love. Ino, Shikamaru and Choji were sitting in a barbeque shop. Choji was chomping on barbeques as well as his chips. Well Choji, you did well today. I didn't expect you to even stand for yourself, but you stood for Ino, and that's incredible of you, Shikamaru said patting Choji on the back. Choji just laughed his special laugh. Well I am surprised too you know that you stood up for me when you don't even stand up for yourself, Ino said and looked at Choji. Why did you stand for me she asked slowly. Choji stopped eating and a little pink appeared on his face. Well I couldn't just let them insult and humiliate you like that. I would have stood up even for Shikamaru Choji said continuing his eating again. Well I am happy that I am your friend she said and the blush deepened on his cheeks. It's no problem, you can ask me if you need any help in anything Choji said smiling. Ino smiled I will remember that and well I have to go home to look after my shop. See you later she said and left two boys alone. Shikamaru looked at Choji and said well you were quite talkative today. But Choji didn't say anything. He kept munching on his chips and barbeque's meats. Anyways I am happy that you will stand up for me too, Shikamaru said smiling. Choji looked at Shikamaru not you he said and left. Shikamaru befuddled and then shook his head and muttered troublesome and he too left. Anko slumped on the chair exhausted, mentally, after 3 hours of interrogation. She wiped the sweat from her forehead and gulped down a bottle of water. Hibiki came and seated himself another chair beside her. Good job Anko he said making Anko look at him. Ah she exhaled loudly. How do you manage this for whole day, I am totally exhausted in just 3 hours Anko said. Hibiki chuckled and said, don't worry, you will get used to it after some time. Just take rest between continuous interrogations. Yeah, I will do that, she said smiling. And after several minutes Hibiki asked Anko, I don't want to be personal, but if you don't mind can I ask you something personal, Hibiki asked. Anko narrowed her eyes slightly. Ask, she just said. It's about Orochimaru, he said carefully. Anko stiffened after hearing Orochimaru's name. What about him, she asked, narrowing her eyes more. Anko, don't feel offensive. I am not like villagers. I can see the truth. And I don't judge a person based on rumors, Hibiki said, and Anko nodded. He looked sincere and respectful person. Did Orochimaru really mean experiment, Hibiki asked, treading carefully. Anko leaned back in the chair and folded her arm under her knocker. Hibiki-san, you are my boss, so I am telling you, but I won't let it pass if anyone in this department asks me anything about him, she said, making it clear that if anyone asked about Orochimaru, then they will have to take leave next day. Hibiki nodded. Yeah, I was just a test subject for him all the time. I didn't know it until the day I got curse mark. Anko told him what he wanted to know. Thanks for sharing, and nobody will ask you anything about him, Hibiki said to her. It would be better for them, she said, a dangerous glint in her eyes. Okay, so I already know everything I need to know about my fellow ninja, Hibiki said, making Anko raise an eyebrow. What do you mean, Anko asked. Well, I mean information like, where do you live and your ninja stats, although it's 2 years old information about your ninja stats, but we will have to manage with it until further evaluation. So well, how you are coping with all this rumors about you, Hibiki asked. Anko sighed. He was now asking idiotic questions. But she smiled. I am sane because I have someone who is keeping me from going insane, Anko said with smile. Well, who is this lucky person then, huh, Hibiki asked smiling. It's Naruto Uzumaki, Anko told him with a wide smile. Naruto Uzumaki, he thought. Naruto Uzumaki, that before he could finish his sentence Anko was in front of him. Her face just inches away from his. A dark and dangerous look on her face, like she was about to rip his guts out and was just waiting for a signal. She did it so fast that Hibiki's eyes couldn't keep up with her speed. Hibiki never felt fear in his whole life working in this department. But looking at Anko just made him know how does fear taste. Hibiki-san, you are my boss, so from that point of view I respect you. So don't make me disrespect you, Anko hissed. Hibiki gulped and said, well, you misunderstood me, but it's okay, Hibiki said nervously. Anko sat back down on the chair. Hibiki tried to calm down. Sorry for that, Anko said looking down. Don't worry about it. Let's go get to work, Hibiki said. Anko nodded and went to her torture and interrogation. It was afternoon. Naruto flopped on the couch tired. His clones were already mastered the techniques. So he dispelled them. The only remaining clones were reading the books. Though the apartment was closed and all the windows were shut, but he could feel the wind blowing. Surprisingly, the wind was only near him, nowhere else in the apartment. Curtains were still and all the things which could flap in the wind were still, but then why his hair was waving in the wind. And before he could think any more on the subject, a clone came to Naruto and said, hey boss, read this page, it's a little strange. Naruto raised an eyebrow. What's a little strange, he asked. Read it and you will know, clone said sincerely. Naruto took the book and started to read. Chakra control in Ninja World. Chakra control is the first, basic and foremost need for even a simple and basic jutsu. It helps us to mold chakra according to the need of the jutsu we want to execute. Chakra control helps in executing the jutsu properly and effectively. The low-level jutsus needs low chakra and high-level jutsus need more chakra. There are also some jutsu which on executing can result in severe chakra exhaustion and sometimes can result in death. Chakra control is also play a great part in chakra element manipulation techniques. Like if you are a fire element user, then you can create fire easily, but it's not easy to manipulate fire on your whim and to make solid objects out of fire like a fire sword or anything like that. You can easily learn fire jutsus, but it takes a lot of concentration and years of hard practice to move fire on your whim and to create objects of fire. Even the cages and cage level shinobis have difficulties to create objects out of their elements. So you need 3 things to get to that level. First and most necessary part is to find a suitable teacher who has reached to that level or almost there. The second is everyday hard practice and dedication. Third is sheer concentration. Naruto read the page and asked, there's nothing strange about it. It's about chakra manipulation that I am going to do. Read the last paragraph, clone said. Naruto then started to read the last paragraph. It's hard to be an effective chakra controller and element manipulator. The shinobis who have a large amount of chakra face difficulties in chakra controlling than the shinobis with lower normal amount of chakra. But there was an exception in shinobis who had large amount of chakra, but still they reached at the level of chakra control on which they were able to manipulate elements as they wished. These peoples were the Uzumakis who even after having large chakra reserves had amazing chakra controls. because they were sealing masters and seals are very delicate and sensitive subjects. So it was necessary for them to have the highest chakra control. Naruto's eyes widened after reading that. Uzumaki's, he muttered. Isn't it strange, it says Uzumaki's, that means were more Uzumaki's, clone said with a serious look on his face. Naruto couldn't contain his happiness. He looked at his clone. If we are not the only Uzumaki, then there must have been more Uzumaki's, and that means I am not a single Uzumaki, Dadabeo, Naruto said and sat down on the couch. He looked at his clone. Naruto couldn't stop his smile. Yes, he yelled cheerily. Uzumaki's, it means were several other Uzumaki's. But the question is, where are they now? Original, Naruto said. You will have to find out about it and will have to be careful because no one ever mentioned about more Uzumaki's, not even Hokage, the clone said to Original. Naruto looked at his clone and nodded, but first we will have to gather information about it, Naruto said. Yeah, and there's only one place we can find a clone said. The library, Naruto said. Yes, but the problem is they won't let us enter in the library and we don't know Henjutsu. Ankichan should have taught us that first, clone said, reminding Naruto that the guards don't let him enter the library. Naruto sighed and flipping the book in his hand sat down on the couch, thinking. Clone looked at him. You know, boss, Uzumaki could be a clan, clone said abruptly, making Naruto wide-eyed again. Naruto looked at the clone who just sported a grin. Clan, Uzumaki clan, Naruto muttered, stuttering. Yeah, and you know what does that means, clone said. That means I am from Uzumaki clan. I am not some clan less orphan, Naruto said, smiling, but then his smile replaced with a frown. But was my clan so weak that no one knows about it, he said depressingly. Well, I don't know, we will have to search about it too without anyone knowing, clone said. Naruto then thought for a minute. His clone was waiting for his response or order. Then an idea came to Naruto. Listen, go to Ankichan right now. You know where the T&I department building is and ask her how to henge right then and there, and then make 5 clones with different faces and enter the library and search in every book for anything about Uzumaki clan, Naruto said to his clone. Yes boss, clone said and left right away. Naruto lay back on the couch while his other 9 clones were still reading the books and only 5 were left doing chakra control exercises and 5 were already dispelled themselves and all their experience came to Naruto. The other 10 was still trying to manipulate wind chakra to coat their hands in winds. Naruto sat up. I can't believe I am from a clan, he thought with expression that showed utter happiness clearly on his face. He was so happy that he was being restless. He wanted to tell Anko as soon as possible, but alas, he will have to wait till evening. The clone Naruto ran towards the T&I headquarters. He entered in it. It was a colossal building. But before he could enter, a guard stopped him in his tracks. The guard recognized Naruto and his face contorted in anger. Where the hells are you barging, you monster, he said, ready to attack Naruto. Naruto stood there blankly. Then he said, I am here to see Ankichan. I don't want to create any type of problem here, so can you please call Ankichan for me? The people here don't have time for trashes like you. Off, before I make you, guard said with disgust. Naruto sighed. These people have crossed the line of being saved. Suddenly another guard came and he noticed the tension in the air. He came to the guard and asked him, what's the matter? Nothing sir, this demon here is trying to infiltrate the building, previous guard said. The new guard ignored her junior and asked Naruto, why are you here? He didn't say any rude words at least, but he could feel the disgust dripping from his expressions. Naruto ignored it. I am here to see Ankichan. And why do you want to see her, he asked. It's a personal matter, Naruto said. You can't see her, why though? Before he could finish his sentence he felt someone put a hand on his shoulder. The guard turned his head backward and looked into a pair of pupil-less eyes. What's the matter, she asked. The guard stood inside and said, ma'am, this. Before he could say anything, Anko noticed Naruto standing there. Her face brightened with a smile, but soon it disappeared. Naruto, what are you doing here, are you alright? Did someone do anything to you, she said, and ignoring the guards moved towards Naruto. Naruto also smiled at her and noticing her panic expression he said, Ankichan, I am alright. I just wanted to talk to you about something. Yeah, what did you wanted to talk about, she asked coming out of her panic. Not here, in private, Naruto said looking around him. A smirk came to her face. She waved the guards to go. But one guard, being the stupid he was, couldn't stop himself and said, but miss, he is the damn Anko, backhanded him, making him spin for half a minute on the place he was standing and then fall down with a thud, unconscious. Anko then looked at the other guard. You want to say anything, she said with a blank expression. No, he stuttered. Then take him to hospital and get lost from here, she said, making him lifting his ally and sprinting away. Naruto looked at Anko in amazement and in daze. You are powerful, he said without knowing. Any doubt, she said. Naruto came out of his daze and grinned. Nope, no doubt, he said. The earlier smirk came back to Anko's face. She leaned her face closer to his and said in a teasing tone, so what was it you wanted to talk about in private? You know, after my return to home, we have a whole apartment to ourselves and it will be total private. No one would say anything, even if we made those kind of noises," Anko said, smirking teasingly, making Naruto's face redder with each words. It's not that kind of matter," Naruto said hurriedly, and once then his face became serious. Anko noticed it and also became serious. "What is it?" she asked, getting impatient now. "Something serious came up related to boss," Naruto said while looking around. The panic came back. "What do you mean something serious, and what do you mean boss?" Anko asked impatiently. "Calm down, Ankichan," the clone said, which made her a little calm. "I am a clone. When we were reading the books, we learned something serious about boss and he need more information on it, so he has sent me here to learn henge from you," Naruto explained her. Anko was now in total confusion. What the hell Naruto found in the book which made him so eager to learn the henge? "What did you find out?" Anko asked the clone. "It would be better if boss tells you himself," clone said. "Come on, can't you tell me?" Anko said eagerly. "Ankichan, please, boss would feel sad if he had planned to surprise you. Just know that it's serious in a good way," clone said, making Anko more antsy. She sighed. "Alright," she said, "and teach him how to henge." The clone then bowed and left, leaving a restless Anko behind. "No, I will have to finish my work soon and go to home," Anko thought, and went to her work intending to leave as soon as possible. She finished her interrogations in 1 hour and went to Hibiki. "Hibiki-san, I have finished my work. Here is the report," she said, handing him the reports on the information gathered from the prisoners. Hibiki checked the report and said, "Good job, Anko." "Thanks sir, but I want to leave now, something has come up," she said. "Okay, your work has finished and we don't have any more interrogations today, so you can go. Come on time tomorrow," Hibiki said. Anko bowed and vanished, making Hibiki wide eyes at her speed. Naruto's clone did as he had said to his clone. The clone searched every library book, but they found nothing at all. Naruto was walking in the apartment waiting for his clones to disappear and to see if they found anything. His other clones were already finished their job and dispelled, sending all the information to the original Naruto. Now Naruto mastered chakra control techniques. And he also succeeded to coat his hands in the wind chakra, which was solid. Suddenly he heard knocking on the door. He opened the door and there stood Anko. But before he could say anything, she hugged him, which made them fall backwards. Anko was on top and Naruto was under her. He was being suffocated from her knockers. Anko soon released him and sat up, removing her from her previous position. They sat face to face on the ground looking at each other. Naruto was smiling, which was making Anko more eager and confused. It was being hard for Naruto to control his happiness, so he jumped at Anko, burying his face in her knockers. Surprised, Anko wrapped her arms around his head. "Someone is very happy today." "What happened? Your clone didn't tell me," Anko said, pouting. Naruto removed his face from her knocker and looked at her and said, "I found a big secret about myself," he said, making Anko more confused. "Big secret?" Anko asked. "I found that Ino let me show you," he said, and gave Anko that book and said, "Read the last paragraph." Anko read the paragraph, and when she read the word Uzumaki, her eyes widened too. The book slipped from her hands and fell down. "I am from a clan, Uzumaki clan," Naruto said, making Anko look at him. "Uzumaki clan?" Anko muttered. "Yeah, and to get more information about it, I had sent a clone to you for learning the henge and search the library. They would have been about to dispel any time," Naruto said, making Anko nod. Suddenly first clone dispelled and he found out that the clone didn't found anything in the library, then second, third, fourth and fifth. When Naruto realized that they found nothing in library about Uzumaki clan, he felt down. Anko noticed it and asked, "What happened?" "They found nothing at all in the whole library," he told her depressingly. Anko then put a finger under her chin and said, "Library has nothing about Uzumaki clan and I never heard about it in Konoha. But Uzumaki clan, why, it feels like I have heard it before somewhere," she said loud enough for Naruto to hear. "Ankichan, try to remember," Naruto said impatiently. Yeah, I am trying to remember," she said. Uzumaki," she recited inwardly and thought hard. "I never give attention to your last name Uzumaki, it rings a bell, but why can't I pinpoint it," she said to herself. Where she started to go back in her life, and when she reached more than 10 years back, it came to her, that woman, that Uzumaki woman. She sat down on the couch. Naruto was noticing her every facial expression, thinking, frowning, frustration and then somewhat victory. "Did you remember something?" Naruto asked. Anko looked at him. "It was an Uzumaki woman. I can't remember her looks, but her name was Kakagu, not this. Kakishi, no, not this one too, Kukishikishiki," her guessing cut off by Naruto. "Kushina," Naruto said. Anko stood up immediately. "Yes, Kushina. Her name was Kushina Uzumaki, and Shesh was in love with Yondaime," Anko said, which made Naruto's eyes go wide. "She was in love with Yondaime," he muttered, and his eyes welled up and he fell to his knees. It all made sense now. The tragic past Kyuubi had told him. That woman, Kushina Uzumaki, and that yellow-haired man was his Naruto. What happened? Anko came rushing to his side. She cupped his face and looked at his tear-stained face. Anko's heart ached from the sight. Naruto, what happened? Please tell me, she said, now hugging him tightly. Naruto closed his eyes, his chin on her right shoulder. Anko-chan, I remembers the story I told you that Kyuubi had told me, Naruto said in cracking voice. That story, Anko reminisced. Then Anko also connected the links and understood why Naruto was crying. Kushina Uzumaki was your mother and Yondaime was your father, Anko said, caressing his back in circles to give him comfort and lessen his sobbing. They stayed like that for a while. After Naruto calmed down, he closed his eyes, and the exhaustion from all the training and the truth he found out about his parents, he dozed off on Anko's shoulder and in her arms. Anko noticed it and took him to the bed. As he tried to lay Naruto on the bed, he didn't let go of her, so she too lay down with him. Naruto snuggled with her and slept. Kushina Uzumaki and Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze are Naruto's parents, Anko thought, staring at the wall. After a while, when she became succeed in untangling herself from Naruto, she came to living room and sat on the couch leaning backward. After a while she started to chuckle and then a full-blown laughter. When her laughter died down, she took a deep breath. Then her face became serious. Damn insolent villagers, damn you Hokage, damn everyone in this village. Everyone knew, but they didn't tell him about his parents, hypocrites. His parents did so much for this village, they even died for the village, and they paid him back like this, she said to herself. But why? What is the reason behind it? Was they afraid of something or she was cut off from Naruto's voice. I also want to know that, he said, walking to the couch, lying down and put his head on her lap. Anko started to caress his scalp with her fingertips, which made Naruto purr in her lap. I also want to know why they would seal Kyuubi in their own child, Naruto said in a muffled voice. Anko again leaned back and started at the ceiling. I don't know, but they must have had a valid and good reason for doing that with their own son, Anko said, making Naruto look at her. I would like to know that reason, and for that we will have to confront Hokage, Naruto said, which made Anko frown. You are right, but when he didn't tell you till now, then why would he tell you now? So we need to be careful, Anko said and looked at him, and I don't want you to just go and ask him. I will go with you, and I will initiate the talk with him because he will surely ask us to know that. How do we know that? Anko said. Okay, Naruto said. They sat in silence for a while, Anko kept caressing his scalp. Then Anko decided to change the subject to lighten his mood and said, okay, what did you do while I was not here? The smile crossed Naruto's face and he sat up. Anko smiled seeing Naruto smile. Anko-chan, today I mastered all you have taught me. The chakra control exercises. All taijutsu moves, and I also started to practice wind chakra, Naruto told Anko, which made her more proud. She stood up and put a hand on his head. Good, I don't know how you are doing it, but I am proud of you, Anko said with a lovely smile on her face. Anko-chan, let me show you the fruits of today's my hard work, he asked, and Anko nodded. He then showed her wall walking and leaf balancing. He then took out a small pebble which made Anko confuse. He then did what he had done with the leaf. The pebble started to float in the air and then split in half. Naruto, you are doing better than anyone else could ever do. What else did you practice today? Anko asked. I also tried to create wind armor, Naruto said. Really? Anko asked surprisingly. Yeah, let me show you, Naruto said and stood feet away from Anko. He closed his eyes and concentrated. The wind around him started to blow and started to gather on his body. Soon he had a thin layer of wind on his hand and his torso. He opened his eyes and saw that Anko was wide-eyed staring at him. He chuckled and said, it's not complete yet. I want to make it full body armor. Anko came near him and saw the gathered wind on Naruto's body closely. It was a layer of wind, and it wasn't that invisible, it was visible a little in white and gray color. I am thinking to make it invisible and thicker, so it could save me from any attack, Naruto said, making Anko stood straight again. Anko smiled. You are doing great, Naruto. No one in ninja history had ever got to the level you are now in just 2 days. And now I can't wait to see how much stronger you will be when you complete the training, Anko said, making Naruto grin. Naruto dispelled the jutsu. Okay, now go and clean yourself up. It's time to dinner, and today I am going to make ramen for you, especially on your achievements today, Anko said, ruffling his hair. Naruto sported a face-splitting smile and yelled, yay, ramen, ramen, and chanting the word ramen went to the bathroom to freshen up. Anko giggled at his antics and walked into the kitchen. Half an hour later they were ready to eat. A bowl of ramen was in Naruto's hands and Anko was watching him intently to know his response. What is it? He asked. Eat and tell me how is it, Anko said. Naruto took first bite, he chewed and then he started to eat. How is it, did you like it? Anko asked a little nervously. It was her first time when she had made ramen, so she felt a little nervous about Naruto's response. Well, it's delicious, Naruto said, smiling. Though it wasn't that good, not even half of that goodness he felt from Ichiraku's ramen, but he said delicious nonetheless. And it was worth it because his answer brought a smile, that cheery look and the shine on her face. They took 20 minutes to fill themselves. I am full, Naruto said, patting his stomach and getting. Okay, Anko said, and brought the dishes to the sink. Anko noticed that there was a little ramen left. So she decided to taste it. After one spoonful of ramen she couldn't dare to eat another. This is not even eatable, she thought with a grimace. How did Naruto eat, she thought, but stopped thinking. She sighed and then smiled. Naruto, she thought. After tidying up the kitchen she went to the bedroom. Naruto was sitting in the room on the bed, closed eyes. Anko entered the room and saw Naruto. A mischievous glint appeared in her eyes. She undressed to only her panties. And sat in front of Naruto in a way that her naked knocker hovering over his face, just an inch away, her nose in his hairs, and took a whiff of his scent. Naruto opened his eyes immediately, and the sight in front of him resulted in a huge nosebleed from him. He fell backwards on the bed, wiping his nose. Anko burst out in laughter. Naruto's face was a shade of tomato. He then looked away, pouting. After a minute, when Anko's laughter died down, she came to Naruto's side and, lifting him up, smothered his face in her naked knockers. Naruto's arms were flailing to his sides. Anko let him go after a minute. Naruto gives him a sheet and said, cover yourself, looking at her. Anko raised an eyebrow. Why, beside me and you, no one is here, Anko said. Naruto's face was still red and now he was having another problem in his pants. He turned around to hide it from Anko. Well, just cover yourself, he said, stuttering. What, you don't like my skin? Yeah, you don't like my knockers, Anko said, making a fake hurting face and voice. Naruto noticed it and turned around immediately. He looked at her and saw her smiling mischievously. Beside you are impossible, he said, lying down on the bed. Oh, you are so cute when you blush like that, Anko said. She then noticed his problem in his pants, which made her smirk. Well, looks like someone is hard, she said, making Naruto go wide eyes. He immediately put his hands on it and while trying to hide his problem, he turned to his stomach. Anko then laughed again. She lay down beside him and hugged him. I didn't know you like my knockers that much that you got a bow. Before she could finish, Naruto yelled, shut up and sleep already. This time Anko only chuckled. She then decided to stop teasing him. She then buried her nose in his hair. You know, you made me very happy today, Anko said. How, he asked. Because the ramen I had made was not even eatable and you still gobbled 7 bowls, Anko said. Don't worry about it. It was eatable, Naruto said, groaning. He could feel the 2 peaks of flesh poking his back. It was getting hard for him to control himself. I will make better ramen next time, she said. Naruto broke free of her hug and got off the bed. He threw her blue top to her. Wear this, then we will talk, Naruto said, looking at her. Anko looked down at the top lying on the bed, but as she brought her eyes down, she caught the side of his tent in the pajama. She moved forward on all 4, the sight caused a nosebleed to Naruto. He looked to the right. Then he shrieked in surprise and stepped back as he felt something poke at his boner. He saw that Anko was looking at him, not her top. Naruto then himself quickly moved and grabbed her top and put it on her head, which brought Anko out of her daze, and sighed and wore the top. You're spoil sport. Aren't you having a problem with that, she said, pointing a finger at his boner. No, I am fine. It will go down itself after some time, Naruto said, and after Anko wore her top he got on the bed and moved under the sheets. Anko hugged him again. They both remained silent for several minutes. Then Anko broke the silence. Naruto, we will have to think about the future plans, Anko said seriously. What do you mean, Naruto asked, turning towards her. In this village no one likes you and the same is with me now. Hokage elders thinks you as a weapon and they will do anything to make it sure that you are loyal to Konoha. They wants you to live for Konoha and die for it, but I don't want that, Anko said, rubbing her nose in his hairs. Don't worry, Ankichan, Konoha isn't worthy of my loyalty and I am not going to do what Hokage elders ask me to do, Naruto said, looking upward at her. Yeah, but they will force you and they won't even hesitate to go low and use everything for that, Anko said. Then what should we do, Naruto asked. Anko thought for a moment and then said, we will have to leave Konoha. But where would we go, Naruto asked. Anko thought then said, well, we are not going anywhere in near future. I am thinking that we will leave when you become a Chunin. Till then we will have more time to think about it, Anko said. As you say, but won't they stop us then, Naruto asked. Yeah, they will stop us. That's why we will wait until you become a Chunin. Because till then I will make you strong enough to go toe-to-toe with Kakashi, and for that you need to train as much as you can and as much hard as you can. You know, besides Orochimaru's training I trained myself. I trained every day till I passed out. And I expect you to do the same, Anko said while explaining to him. Naruto then closed his eyes and then opened. He had a look of fierce determination in his eyes. Ankichan, I promise you that I will train as hard as I can, Naruto said, promising to not only Anko, but to himself too. Anko ruffled his hairs. "That's my little Naruto," she said to him smiling. "But would only the two of us be able to fight whole Konoha?" Naruto asked. "Don't worry about that. First, I am strong enough to fight shinobis like Kakashi. I can take shinobi like him, not one but five altogether. But still we need peoples on our side who will help us, or if they want they can come with us," Anko said, reassuring Naruto. "Aren't you boasting a little? I mean 5 shinobis like Kakashi," Naruto said, doubting her. Anko sighed and said, "You don't believe me, okay, I will ask Hokage about my status as a jounin, because I am strong enough to be a jounin. Then you will see my strength," Anko said. "Okay, but have you think about the people who will join us, and will they agree to betray Konoha?" Naruto asked. "Well, there's Yugao for starter, she is ready to join us, and maybe Inuzuka clan, and there are other peoples too," Anko said. "Okay, now I only need to be strong," Naruto said, and Anko nodded. "Okay, let's sleep now. Tomorrow after training you need to go to academy," Anko said, which made Naruto groan in protest. "Ankichan, please," Naruto pleaded with a puppy look in his eyes. Anko closed her eyes to avoid the look in Naruto's eyes. "Naruto, until you become a Chunin, we don't have to do anything that could make others suspicious about our intentions. So to avoid that you will have to go, and I have already cut the number of days you have to go to academy." Naruto sighed in defeat. "Okay," he said. "Don't worry, I will allow you to return after the lunch," Anko said, which made him smile. "You know, there's one more person we need to be wary of," Anko said with grim expression. "Who?" Naruto asked seriously when he noticed Anko's expression. "Danzo, the most dangerous person in Konoha. He is the leader of Root Anbu organization, and they wear masks like Anbus, but with the name Root written on it," Anko said, warning Naruto. Naruto then went in deep thought. Anko noticed it and asked, "What happened, Naruto?" "The description of Root you gave me, it seems familiar. I have seen it, but where?" Naruto thought. "When? Where?" Anko asked, panicking. Naruto then suddenly looked at Anko. "I remembered," he said. "Tell me," Anko asked. "Once when I got discharged from hospital, I was returning from the hospital. That time he was following me. I ran, he said to me to go to him and he would take care of me, but I was successful in evading him," Naruto told her. Anko sighed in relief. "So he already has started to move," Anko said, more to herself than Naruto. "We need to be quick with your training." "Understood," Naruto nodded, and no slacking, Anko finished. Naruto nodded again. "We also have to find out about your parents Yondaime and Kishina Uzumaki," Anko said. Naruto smiled sadly. "Yeah, should we confront Hokage about it?" Naruto asked. "Well, only he can tell us about it, so I think we should," Anko said, looking at Naruto. He nodded. "Tomorrow, we will talk to him." Naruto nodded again. Anko then felt sleepy and said, "Let's sleep now." They both then fell asleep. It was 10 in the night. The receptionist of Konoha General Hospital was in a surprising state. Because in front of him was standing Sasuke Uchiha. She was surprised not because he was Sasuke, she was an older woman in her 30s, she was surprised because in 2 years it was first time that Sasuke had come to visit his mother. He never had visited his mother. Why, no one knows, but there were rumors that someone asked him why he doesn't visit her mother, then he said he has more important work than visiting his mother, like training and becoming strong to kill his brother, and he will go to her when he has time. No one said anything because he was an Uchiha and he was backed up by counsel. So the receptionist only showed surprise, she didn't say anything. She told him the room number and he didn't even thank her and left. Sasuke entered his mother Makoto Uchiha's hospital room. The nurse attending his mother looked at him. She understood and went outside. Sasuke came across to the bed on which Makoto was lying. He looked at his mother. She was beautiful. Sasuke had never seen anyone beautiful than his mother in Konoha. She had black hair, but they had lost their shine. Her face was pale and she was skinny. Several medical equipments were attached to her body. Her ECG could be seen on the screen of a monitor which was beeping with every heartbeat. Sasuke pulled a chair beside the bed. He stared at his mother. She was weak. Her chest was rising and falling with every slow breath. He leaned back in the chair. Staring at his mother's face, he felt something in his chest, but he ignored it. "Mom, do you know what is happening with me? I can't eat properly, I can't sleep properly. Every moment of every day I only think about killing Itachi. But I am not strong enough. I want to be strong so that I could kill him. The problem is I don't know what to do, how I can become strong enough. I learn from the clan jutsu scrolls whatever I can learn, but now I don't understand anything in those scrolls and I need a guide. And after thinking hard I came to a conclusion that you are the only one who can teach me. And you are sleeping here like you have no worry in the world." He got up and grabbed her shoulder, and while shaking her body hard he yelled, "Mom, wake up, Mom. Don't you love your son? Wake up, damn it. Why don't you wake up?" Sasuke yelled. Then he saw the nurses came running in the room. "What happened and what are you doing? Are you trying to kill her?" the lead nurse said angrily. Sasuke just huffed and said, "I was just trying to wake her up," he said, and left the room. He punched the wall in frustration. Then he walked out of the hospital and made his way to his house. It was a dark night. The moonlight was obscured by the clouds. Sasuke noticed that someone was following him. He turned, but no one was there, but as he again turned in forward direction, he saw a man with white hair was standing there. "Who are you and what do you want?" Sasuke asked, and the man came close to Sasuke. "Mizuki," Sasuke said in surprise. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. "Why are you following me?" "I am following you because my master has some business with you," Mizuki said. "What kind of business and who is this master you are talking about and why would I listen to you?" Sasuke asked, now getting cautious. "Have patience. My master knows what you want and he is the only one who can give you what you want instantly," Mizuki said smirking. He knew what Sasuke wanted. His hunger for power was increasing and he was ready to do anything. And this was what Orochimaru needed to get Sasuke. Orochimaru had appointed Mizuki to spy on Sasuke. Orochimaru had Anko at that time, but when he came to know about Sasuke he forgot about Anko. Sasuke had more features than Anko in his body. And most of all Sasuke had Sharingan. So Sasuke's body was more preferable to him than Anko. But before using the seal on Sasuke he needed to test it and he used Anko as a test subject. "How can your master make me strong instantly?" Sasuke asked, now interested and full attention. "Well, you will have to meet him first. He will tell you himself," Mizuki said, grinning inwardly that he will get a good reward from his master. "When can I meet him?" Sasuke said, smirking inwardly at now he will get what he wanted. "Tomorrow night, same time on the academy roof," Mizuki said. "Okay, I will be there," Sasuke said. "But make sure that no one follow you and no one comes to know about it," Mizuki warned him. They both nodded to each other and Mizuki shined. Sasuke now smirked fully. "I will be strong now and no one will be able to stop me now. Itachi, just you wait," he thought and went to his house. Naruto woke up and stretched his arms upwards, but he noticed his arms, no, his whole body was confined in the arms of another person. He sighed and slowly freed his body from Anko's grasp. He looked at the clock, it was 4 a.m. He thought it was good time to start the training because now it was time to take everything seriously. He went to the bathroom to freshen up and returned. He noticed that Anko was sleeping like a baby. He went closer to her and leaned on her face. "She is cute," he thought and brushed some purple streaks of hairs to the side from her face. She was looking so cute that he didn't even know that he was leaning closer to her face and when he was almost 1 inch away from her face, Anko opened her eyes. Naruto's eyes widened in shock and he moved backward immediately. "What were you doing?" Anko asked, trying to mix a little edge in her voice. It's not what you are thinking it is," Naruto said, trying to evade. "Oh, then what it is?" "To me it looks like you were trying to kiss me," Anko said, now more edge and louder voice. Naruto's face fell from Anko's tone. He felt down. "I am sorry. It won't happen again," Naruto said, mostly whispered but loud enough for Anko to hear in the silence. Anko looked at Naruto and she felt guilty for making Naruto feel down and sad. Her teasing brought opposite effect this time, so before Naruto could go out she said, "Naruto, I was just teasing you. I am not mad at you," she said this time in a very soft and loving voice. Naruto's head snapped up with wide eyes. Had it been someone else he would have careless, but it was Anko. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand and saw that Anko was spreading her arms for him to come in her arms with a smile on her face. Naruto walked in her arms and hugged her. Anko wrapped her arms around him. He sighed. "You know your teasing will give a heart attack to me someday," he said, and Anko chuckled. Anko then broke the hug. "Okay, we should get ready to go," Anko said, and as she was about to get up she said, "I forgot to do something," and brought her face closer to his, more closer. Naruto was wide-eyed again. He couldn't comprehend what was happening and he closed his eyes. Anko's lips at last touched his. Naruto opened his eyes in shock. He saw Anko was kissing him, her eyes closed and with every passing moment his body getting numb and his legs weak. Anko broke the kiss and opened her eyes slowly. To Naruto it was like heaven and an angel in front of him. Anko smirked at the desirable reaction. She brought her mouth closer to his ear. "It was my first kiss, you know, and I guess it was yours first too," she said in a seductive voice. Naruto couldn't take it anymore and his mind blanked out. In his mind was only one thing: Anko's first kiss. Anko laughed hard and after calming down she kissed his forehead and went out for her daily morning routine. After 5 Naruto jolted up. "Anko's first kiss," he said to himself with a smile. "Anko's first, oh man, too can't believe," he said to himself again. Then his smile turned to a grin. "I will take Anko's every first thing, Dadabeo," Naruto said to himself while fisting the air upwards. "You can take my every first thing, but before that come here and have breakfast. We are already late for training," Anko yelled from the living room. "Shit, did I say that aloud? Damn, I again embarrassed myself in front of Anko," he said with red face and got out of the bed for breakfast. After having breakfast they went out to training. Naruto didn't look at her whole time because of his earlier declaration towards Anko. Whenever Anko looked at him he only blushed and turned his head, which resulted in Anko's chuckles and giggling. Anko increased the gravity pressure on him. They started from running around Konoha. Naruto, Konoha's perimeter is around 4 miles, and I can cover this 4 miles distance in around 30 seconds. That fast I am, so I want you to reach that level. So try to run as fast as you can, Anko said, telling him his target. Naruto promised to himself that he would reach that level, and if not then at least half of that level before Kyuubi starts his training. He nodded to Anko, and then they both started to run. It was 7 o'clock now. They were resting under a tree near the lake in the Forest of Death. Naruto calculated that he covered the 4 miles distance in more than half hour. Anko decided to give him a 5-minute break before the spar. Okay, let's spar now, Anko said. Naruto nodded and they started their spar. They sparred for half an hour. Anko had taught him some new moves and he had mastered them all in their process and finishing a move with skills. Anko couldn't tell how proud of Naruto she was. After their spar, Anko decided to show him some of her jutsus. Naruto, now I am going to show you some of my element manipulation technique, Anko said. What is your element, Ankichan? Naruto asked, wondering. Anko grinned and said, let me show you. Anko made some distance between them. Anko stretched her right hand outward and a fire appeared in her palm. She closed her palm and soon the fire stretched outward and a sword made of fire emerged from the fire in her fist. The fire sword was 3 feet long and 1 inch wide. The hilt, which was also made of fire, was in her hand. She went to a tree nearby and swung the sword diagonally. The tree got cut cleanly in two. So what do you say, Anko said to Naruto, who was wide-eyed from sheer amazement. Awesome, he shouted in excitement. Isn't it, Anko said, grinning wide. You didn't even make any hand signs, Naruto asked. The result of my intense practice, Anko said. How much did you practice, Naruto asked in bewilderment. The grin on Anko's face turned to a smirk. I practiced until I became unconsciousness due to chakra exhaustion. Then when I regained consciousness I again practiced, Anko told to Naruto. Naruto was amazed hearing Anko. Anko leaned down to bring her face closer to his. And now you have to do the same to reach that level, Anko said with a serious face. Naruto only nodded. Now you have to do this with your element wind, okay, she said, and Naruto nodded. Then Anko stepped aside. You just need to gather wind with the help of wind chakra and stretch it outward, Anko said, and Naruto got to work. Naruto stretched his palm out and tried to gather wind in his hand. After third try he got it. He was able to make the hilt and the 6 inches outward. Anko came to him, observed him closely. She examined that the wind at the hilt, which was white colored, which means the wind molecules was dense there and their intensity was good too. The 6 inches sword which was protruding from the hilt was a little transparent, like the molecules in the wind were scattered everywhere. They must be sticking to each other to get a solid and durable sword. Okay, it's good, but make the sword color as the hilt's. The sword is weak. Increase the density of wind molecule in the sword, Anko instructed Naruto. After half an hour Naruto had a white colored hilt with 10 inches sword sticking out from it, which was also white. Anko was amazed again at Naruto's accomplishments. She noticed that recently Naruto was surprising her again and again. Naruto was amazed and surprised at himself. Everything Anko was teaching him felt so easy to him that he got the sword in half an hour. It was like he was getting more and smarter with every passing day. Okay, that's enough for now, we need to get ready for your academy, Anko said and started striping. What do you mean us, aren't you going to your own job, and why are you undressing, Naruto asked, getting pink color to his cheeks. Anko looked at him. She was already out of her top and pants. What did you think? We will go to home to get ready. I have everything with me here, Anko said, and then Naruto saw a clone of Anko was bringing their cloths and breakfast for them. Naruto only smiled at Anko's smartness. Anko was now only in her panties. She looked at him and saw him standing. What are you waiting for? Undress now and let's jump in the lake, or do you want me to undress you? Anko said while grinning and started to move towards him. With every step, Naruto could see her giggling knockers, and just the sight of her naked knockers made his pants tighten. Naruto then came out of stupor and noticed Anko was only 1 inch away from face. Someone is getting hard, she said while tracing a finger to his cheek. And then she grabbed his shirt and with skilled hands removed it from Naruto's body, and before he could protest he found his pants also disappeared. He was now in only his boxers and he saw that his shirt and pants were in Anko's hands. Naruto noticed that Anko was wide eyes and her eyes were on his Ankichan. He yelled while trying to hide his boner from Anko. Anko smirked mischievously. Whoa, you are really big for a 10-year-old, she said, and now looked in Naruto's eyes. Naruto could see something different in her eyes. How big is it, Naruto? Anko asked. It looked like she was in a haze. Naruto now felt uneasy and to avoid any further embarrassment he jumped in the water. Anko came out of her haze and shook his head. Control, Anko, control, she thought. She breathed deeply and smiled and jumped in the water. She swam to Naruto and leaned backwards on the stone at the edge of the lake beside Naruto. "Okay, let me wash your back," Anko said, and even after Naruto's protests, she started to wash his back. After washing each other's back 15 minutes later they came out and after dressing they were ready to go. "I will go with you to your academy," Anko said while trying to dry her hair. Naruto didn't say anything, he was busy admiring Anko's face which had some of her purple streaks on it. She was looking so beautiful to him that he wanted to kiss her badly. He was in a trance when Anko noticed. "What is it?" Anko asked Naruto. "You're so beautiful," Naruto said aloud. Anko's heart fluttered and she smiled. "Oh thank you," Anko said, and she was ready to move. She again noticed from Naruto's facial expressions and his eyes that he wanted to do something but was controlling himself. So she smiled and lowered her body to his eye level. She had a little foreboding of what he wanted. "You know you don't need to hold back with me," Anko said, and this was enough for Naruto to let his control go. He caught her lips in a kiss as she said that, and Naruto, being the inexperienced one, was unable to do it properly. Anko was inexperienced too, but she had seen many kisses before, so they went with the flow. It was a prolonged kiss, their lips were just simply touching, but both can feel their passion and love for each other. After 1 minute they broke and looked at each other. To Naruto, she was the most beautiful person at the moment and it was same to her. They wanted to stay like that, live in that moment forever, but they needed to go. They both smiled and leaned their head forwards and touched their foreheads. Anko then leaned back and kissed his forehead. "Okay, let's go kiss her boy," Anko said, teasing Naruto. Naruto nodded with red face. He was having difficulties in accepting that he kissed Anko. But whatever, he was on cloud 9. But the new nickname was a little embarrassing. He would prefer little Naruto rather than kiss her boy, Naruto said, which resulted Anko chuckling. "Okay," she said, and they both went to the academy. Thanks for watching my video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment below your favorite part. Don't forget to support author and his story, link in the description. Sayonara, see you in the next video.